Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the ALGS. My name is Randy. I'll be your host today. We got a great action-packed match day 8 for you that will determine a lot of things as we get closer and closer to our regional finals and, of course, land. But of course, I cannot do it by myself. I hope you guys are enjoying, whether you're in the West Coast like me and waking up in the morning for this, or maybe in some different time zones. We'll have some people representing all that. I brought some people all around the world to join me, and of course, I got to say, it's always a pleasure when I get to have Vicky Kitty on the cast. Vicky, how are you doing? How's it feel to be back? And we got a great day Apex ahead of us.
Yes, we do. We've already seen signs of life with Season 20, changing up the meta, and I'm so excited to be here alongside you, Randy. It's always a great time of some great ALGS action, and I can't wait to see how EMEA is going to do, because time is of the essence now.
I know we've all been mixing and matching. This guy, though, he's been on pretty much every show that has existed for Apex. We're not sure how he's awake, but he's here with us. Gino, what's up, man? Glad to have you on the broadcast today.
Oh, I'm having a great time, Ray. You're right. It is kind of early, 4:50 a.m. over here in Australia at the moment. But I know there's definitely some fans down here of Apex all around the world, and certainly some of my favorite personalities are from the EMEA region. So I'm super hyped to see them play today.
It's going to be awesome. You know, we got Moist in North America. We got Dark Zero. We got Gino. And we're just getting them all on West Coast North America time zone as much as we can. But of course, last but not least, a pleasure to have Dia on the cast as well. My man, Dia. What's up? Ready for a big day of Apex?
I am very, very ready, and I'm not sure that the teams are, because with Season 20 having just begun recently, we had a lot of great match days last week, but the end of the season is just around the corner, and stakes are already through the roof right now.
It's such an exciting time as well in Apex. We get to see all of the work that these teams have done to get here, and now what it looks like to set the full picture up of where we're going. But those of us joining will be hanging in the 4-box here for now. And those who have maybe missed it, there's been some news, some changes to some teams that we want to keep you filled in on before we get into the brunt of the action today. Nodus Vincier, a legendary esports name, has rejoined Apex Legends. What a beautiful thing to have them back in. They actually represent now who is no longer Orgless, maybe still hungry, Orgless and hungry, obviously. And they'll be back joining us. It's a great thing to have a team like this really coming back into Apex at this state. And we also have another team, ESG, who's changed their name to Omit. I know, Vicky, we were talking a little bit about Na'Vi coming back. You casted over them a few years back. It's great to have them in the space.
Yeah, back in my day, Rain Day, right when you blink and time just flies by. The last time I got to see Na'Vi on the big stage was in 2021, so it's so nice to see them come back into the professional competitive esports space with Apex Legends. It's always nice to welcome back old family members that you haven't seen in quite some time.
It's a great pickup, too, for a team. Obviously, you know, Tafe and that squad, after going away from VexX, they've been looking for a long time. It's great to see that representation, and it's good to see that journey pay off for them as well. All right, we also have talked about this a little bit, that we are getting closer and closer to land. But before we figure that out, there's regional finals. There's still a few more match days, and we have to figure out where teams stand. So for those who want a big picture, we put together a nice little graph that can give you some insight. Let me explain it here, because there's a lot of numbers, obviously, 1st through 30. That's pretty simple. Our top performing teams, and currently 20 will join for our regional finals. But playoff spots secured, that's another thing. Today, tomorrow, over the course of these next few days, we will start filling these boxes on the left-hand side out. So whether a team is securing their spot, AURORA, Nodus Vincier, obviously the closest teams to being able to do that. Regional finals is another option. Just remaining in Pro League also, or being relocated to the PLQ. That will start to become clear as we move through today's results and tomorrow's results. So stay tuned to this. We'll come back to this graphic and keep you filled in on what is happening. But Gino, when you look at the top, there's a lot of teams who, you know, really have said, we're setting the pace for EMEA, and everyone needs to catch up.
Of course, if you look at the top there, I mean, you've got AURORA on 96 points, the single most dominating performance so far of any team in any region in the ALGS at the moment. I mean, all three of those guys, no one is slacking. They're all posting at least 11 kills on average a piece across for that team. So AURORA pretty much have stamped their ticket already for LAN. And then you're looking across at Element 6 and 2 Rats 1 Controller here as well. These guys, you know, maybe not quite as far along as AURORA, but still very much in a great spot to convert that into a LAN ticket. And, you know, we're thinking about these guys today and where they're going to end up. And you do start to wonder if you've locked it in, right? What have we got left to play for? Certainly, you know, there's that prize pool on the line. They can, you know, they're probably going to want to make sure they're taking home as much of that as possible. But then, you know, can they afford to experiment a little bit? You know, there's some other teams that, you know, obviously AURORA have had troubles with contesting it before it land. Do they want to knock someone else out and maybe hot drop on someone? Certainly, as we progress through the season, those become, you know, options for these teams who are really killing it at the moment.
Well, those teams obviously have huge names as well for the ALGS unit. Great breakdown and preview of what not only they have capability-wise, but Vicky, teams still looking to make it, having a chance, but a little slimmer. Forge Full English Passion, walk me through their situation.
Yeah, you have the teams that have been popping off, and then you have the teams on the other side of the coin where they are relying on the regional final, or at least need max points for the day to actually, or just win that regional final if they want to compete on the big stage at LAN. I'm talking about Forge, the Full English, and Passion. Forge are currently sitting in 16th overall, but has another match day tomorrow since they are in Group C. The last time this team, though, did play in this lobby in early February, they got second behind AURORA's dominance after having a better run on World's Edge and even winning a game with 14 KP. Then you look at Full English, they're currently sitting in 12th in the overall standings, and this is their final match day before the regional finals. They have not gotten a first place finish yet, which is pretty surprising, but they have come in second as their highest placement this split. They make up for it by fragging out and having the 8th most kills as a total squad in this region. And then you go down a Passion. I don't know what Season 20 did to these guys, but this is also their final match day before regional finals. It was like a night and day difference. They're currently sitting in 14th in the overall standings for EMEA, but they had one heck of a day the last time we saw this team perform last weekend.
Passion absolutely going to be bringing all of that and more to this lobby, and they need to if they're going to get to where they want to be, which is, of course, finals and LAN. But does 0-0 feel confident about how his teams approached it, especially with Season 20 changing up the meta so much? We had a chance to talk to him before the show.
Hey, I'm 0-0, and my teammates are Henchman, Feuda, and we are Team Passion. Week before the match day, I made a whole new roster basically. We did some practice with the boys, and we just jumped right in. Our gameplay line is pretty simple. We play for positionings, don't fight a lot, but the fights we take are important, and we win most of them, you know? And that guaranteed us the second place overall on that day. Firstly, the armor changes were huge for us on our POIs. We had a problem with those before, but now that everyone is like on equal footing on armors, it helps a lot with the rotating and playing positions for us. And also the legend picks are really favorable in our favor. Like it fits our team comp and our playstyle real well, and you know, it's all of those combined help us get in the second place. It's pretty much the same. Only major change is we are changing POI for Stoner Point, but everything else stays the same. And for the preparation for this last match day, we just were practicing our basics and making them stronger, you know, getting ready. And we're feeling pretty good about the final day.
That was 0-0 from Passion. He's going to be playing today and obviously looking to keep on the great results his team had performed. There's a very passionate lobby. You guys will know what we mean in a second, but a lot of passion, whether from Zero or around him this afternoon. But, you know, Dia, obviously we've seen these teams. Vicky mentioned the teams kind of looking to make a last-minute play. Genome talked about are those out in front of the pack, but there's always some teams who are just trying to stay, trying to hang and not get relegated, essentially. The not-so-pretty side, Dia, who do you have your eye on there?
It's very true. Like, in the scheme of the Pro League, you also have to worry about the Pro League qualifier and competing with those that come up from the Challenger circuit. Right now, the teams that are in that position that do have to worry about the relegation that you mentioned are Omit, GoNext, and VexX. Omit's currently sat in 21st right now, with honestly not the easiest way out of it. If you want to avoid the Pro League qualifier, you do have to place at least 22nd or above. So Omit's chance to stay in the Pro League is razor thin right now. They have not yet picked up a win this season, a match win in the course of this season. So keep your eyes on Omit, see what they can change up as GoNext, of course. So the next big flag in these three teams that we're talking about. GoNext, who placed 23rd at playoffs last year, and then in champs ended up placing in the almost top 30 teams in the world, have fallen off pretty severely, landing in the bottom 10 teams in EMEA. They do have a chance again with today and tomorrow's games, since they're in Group C, to make that up and manage to do pretty well given the meta change that happened last week, grabbing themselves a top 10 finish in match day 6. VexX are another big squad to look at, and they are placed the lowest, 24th right now. And as a very aggressive team, early on in the season they relied on kills that Babylon's was getting them. But as the match days have gone on, as Pro League extends, VexX seem to be losing that mojo when compared to other teams. The kills aren't coming their way quite as quick, and that's going to be really problematic towards the end of the split.
Great highlight there, D. I mean, these teams obviously have a lot to work on, but it doesn't mean that they can't. And we're going to look today as we check out who is actually participating, opportunities for Mitt, for VexX to make a move. Will GoNext maybe have the day, try to find some of those match wins you were talking about that haven't come for those teams? We'll see. But overall, we've got 07. We've got 40% worse. Shiv, he joined us last week on the broadcast, said his team hasn't been playing that well. Maybe season 20, maybe this weekend is the weekend that will shift it all. But big names like AURORA will be hard to stop. They have pushed the envelope for what it means to be a top contender in the ALGS this season. We'll see if they can continue that this day. And of course, as we head over to it, there's no two who are better to get us started. It's Vicky, it's Genome. Guys, take it away. Let's get these matches going.
Thank you so much, Rain Day. We are back. Genome here in the driver's seat. I don't know who gave me the keys. They've made a mistake, but I'm excited to take us through the very first game here in EMEA, especially since, like I mentioned before, time is of the essence. This is going to be the last day that some of these teams will be playing in before the regional finals. See which of these 8 teams may have the opportunity to compete and land in the EMEA region, because right now, a lot of these teams see where they're sitting at in terms of points, and they need to know what they got to do differently today to really find that pop-off opportunity, since we are starting off on World's Edge for our first 3 games before we transition onto Stormpoint for our final 3 games.
Yeah, look, no doubt, if Vicky's in the driver's seat, she's going to be redlining it. So, you know, as we were talking about before, which teams have been redlining it so far, and which teams really need to find that extra gear to go into. I'm so excited, actually, to see AURORA play live for the first time here, casting it, because obviously I didn't get to see them last week in the matchup we had. Yeah, this team has been doing so phenomenally well. And, you know, this is a team that in the past has very much succeeded in their own region, in EMEA. But, yeah, you know, I really want to see them push that even further at LAN this year.
Especially since we get to see, and by the way, shout out to production, I absolutely love this. We get to see the different end circles for the different match days that we've had. Remember, it's always 3 games per match day that we see on World's Edge. And you can see that it's mostly heavily favored towards the teams that land in these northern POIs, with over 4 more end circles happening in the north side of World's Edge versus the south side. It comes into consideration on how some of the teams like to not just end up coexisting in the end circle for Skyhook, since there's so many different spots to coexist in, but also the teams that have to make that rotation from the south side as we take a look at where our team's going to be dropping.
Yeah, I mean, look, south side, north side, I was looking at the east side, west side there. I mean, if you're full English landing at Overlook, they had priority to so few of those zones, right? I mean, you know, and we touched on them before, you know, as one of those teams who has been struggling a little bit, and maybe that is one of the reasons why.
Gonna have to see here in a double passion. I mean, landing on that west side, landslide to staging. We're definitely gonna be seeing who's gonna bring out the passion the best. On that transition here, as we take a look at the 50-50 happening over by Tree. Dome usually ends up splitting some of that loot if they manage to quickly rotate to the south building of launch site, but that also depends on where these circles are gonna be pulling Genome here. But I'm excited to see how some of our bottom end teams, I'm thinking even TSM Phoenix, you know, exiting out of Geyser. Geyser doesn't have the best loot. How are their rotation points going to look like, considering that they're at the bottom end of the overall standings for EMEA here? How are some of these teams going to fare against even the best ones in the lobby here?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think some of the POIs, like Geyser, have actually had a shift in how powerful they are. It's certainly still not a POI that, you know, I would choose or you're going to pick up that quickly necessarily. But I think one of the good changes that we've had with taking Evo armors off the floor, Vicky, is that it has normalized things a little bit, right? I mean, people coming out of Geyser with triple whites versus triple purples coming out of Siphon, you don't see that anymore. There's still a bit of a loot disparity, but I think it genuinely has made it fairer across the board.
I like how you bring that up too, because then we also talk about pathing with the Evil Harvesters and how that's going to influence some of the rotations from our teams here, whether it be the Evil Harvesters, there's survey beacons, if you do have that Bloodhound like we've been seeing so far as a staple in a lot of these compositions, or even getting that ring console, of course, too, with that control legend. Each of these things add up to the greater picture of getting your Evil Shield charged up, getting that first perk that you could pick, and then figuring out how you want to play that circle, whether you want to play more by the edge, play a little bit aggressive, or do you want to play for that final circle positioning?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point that we should probably bring up quickly as well, is we have had a hotfix for that double ring console scan this week as well. So that means that's minus 200 XP. Obviously, you were last week, you had a double scan, that 400 XP. You're almost to blues already, which means that this week, it's actually going to take teams a little longer to be picking up those blue armors and moving through the evolution stages.
I like that too, because then you also think about the extra points you get from opening a vault. If you're exiting out of Geyser and you're able to shoot down a drone, you get 200 points into your Evil Shield immediately when you open the vault. So many different things that we could theory craft for the different pathings that we've been exposed to so far from Season 20. After the action that we saw last weekend, Genome, and going into this weekend, this means that this has given teams more time to figure things out in the way that they want to play. We really haven't been seeing a lot of Watson in NA, but then you look at EMEA, we've been seeing much more Bloodhound. You're seeing the Caustic coming out in full force. I love how we have this graphic here too for you viewers at home. You guys get to take a look. If you haven't been playing Season 20 or just been dabbling here and there, what have you been doing? But Evil upgrades have been the biggest thing. I mean, even getting a finisher accrues you even more points towards that overall Evil Shield if you are not susceptible to getting third party in your position when you take that fight.
Yeah, I think the survey beacon's an important one to point out there, because teams who are playing more edge or who just don't have priority to the zone, they will be ping-ponging between the Evo Harvesters for 350 apiece and the survey beacons for 200 apiece. And I think it's honestly pretty powerful these days. I feel, you know, if you're, because we do have so much Bloodhound in the lobby and therefore so much access to these survey beacons that teams will be hitting those into Zone 2 and Zone 3, identifying the open spots. If you have a zone that pulls very predictably, it is then often quite hard for them to make it in. But if you have a zone that perhaps throws people off a little bit, it pulls back, it's a weird zone, all of a sudden there will be spots that are free and you can very much get a very good playable spot later into the game.
Yeah, taking a look at the Caustic perks that you were mentioning, just also going into how some of these teams may want to play. I love how we get to see which of our pros are going for one perk over the other. Obviously, the Particle Diffuser being the highly picked one, even though we still have that 7% where people just want to yeet the barrel over to maybe entry frag or something, but the Particle Diffuser makes your ultimate so much bigger, literally 50% bigger. And that comes into the clutch when it comes to also securing buildings. If you see that they've already been taken by another team, let's say a crypto comes in, EMPs, deletes the caustic barrels, so now you're the only caustic coming into entry frag and you throw out that caustic gas, you're gonna be able to clear a room so quick. And then the purple Evo Shield perks, you see that more of these pros are going for that residual toxin, where that Nox vision persists for even longer. They can see through that gas. It's not that they're sitting inside of their own gas, regenerating health, like breathe it in. Instead, it's about being able to see, especially since Digi threats obviously aren't on SMGs anymore, right? So when you're sitting down in your gas, the only times you really have to worry about the Digi threat is going to be on those shotguns, on a pistol. That's why we've been seeing more of the Mozam, the RE being put into play. But we could talk about this and all these Season 20 changes that have influenced competitive Apex forever, Genome. Let's get ready. The lobby has loaded up, and we are diving into our very first game here in EMEA.
Alrighty, straight back onto Old Faithful World's Edge to start off with. It's going to be a good look as we, I assume we'll get to start seeing the legend picks coming in very soon. You were just talking about the caustic, you know, perks and picks before. One thing to clear up with those caustic picks, by the way, Vicky, is it says the area of the ultimate is 50% larger, right? And I think some people are getting a little confused with that. It doesn't mean the radius is 50% bigger. It means the area, so that it goes from about 10 meters in radius to about 11.5 meters in radius. So yeah, just a little fun one if you you know, wanted to bring out the trigonometry back at home.
If instead of yeeting the barrels, you could yeet the Nox gas grenade instead, going as far as you can when it comes to trying to cover so much of that space. And you can even see, talking about the caustic, one legend that we got to see a lot too of, Genome, was the lifeline. The lifeline, especially when Circle 3 is closing, I believe always guarantees you either an Evo Cash or a red weapon. So we have to see how this also comes into play with more of these teams having more time to play within Season 20. And here's that 50-50 that we saw over by Trey. Oh, he does have a weapon.
Oh no, and the conduit goes down straight away. Probably the one you want to lose the least. Obviously, she gives you that sustain in these early fights, Vicky. Oh man, that's a rough one to lose first up.
And it's 202. Not only with the Evo Shield advantage, but with the number advantage too. They're trying to corner them on each side here. And with the fuse is so important if you know you're taking a 50-50. Those knuckle clusters not only cover so much space, but they fry out. Trafaka is going to be on the other side here. Ozzy's going to come in, and that was mind eliminated in the last 30 seconds. Not even as we just get started with this first game.
Yeah, sold there by 202. Looks like Skyhook, actually. There might be potentially some action over there. These guys have dropped very close to each other, so not starting off in trials. We've got LCDF and Element 6.
Two heavy-hitting teams within the region, and the Cita Fonts have the high ground right now, and they have the blowdown scan. They know that there's a player right underneath them. There's going to be another player on the other side of the same building that they didn't get on the scan, but they are going to be able to take a look at the action happening through the window. And while this fight is taking a little bit of time, there is Forge, that landing countdown that like to split some of that loot before maybe going and rotating through the vault if they were able to get that vault key.
Yeah, I guess they've got bigger fish to fry right now. These teams getting into it. Okay. Trying to kick open the door here. Obviously, neither team has really had a chance to loot that much, but wow, the quick push in from Element 6 will get, yeah, takes the win and takes all of Skyhook to themselves. I'm genuinely quite interested to work out how they ended up in that spot fighting each other so quickly. That's not the usual drop spots you would get out of the two teams.
Yeah, because usually you have the Cita Fonts who land over by the east side of Skyhook, and then E6 that kind of split the trials, and then Skyhook west side of the loot. So immediately taking that fight off the rip could also be a statement here, because now the Cita Fonts also have the information off the beacon that's over by the side of Skyhook before they make their decision to transfer over to where the circle is going to be pulling, which will be over by Stacks. And you can see so many other teams not wasting any time in making this rotation. TSM Phoenix looking like they're about to engage in a fight versus cybercats who have dropped towards the geyser side.
Chasing them into the tunnels now, as we do see that ring pull all the way down. As you said, you know, guys are pretty close to this, so we'll see what their composition is as well. Of course, if you've got a Caustic, you're playing Watson, you definitely can bunker up in those tunnels a little bit. Other teams here, VexX and 07, down all the way in Dome.
4 lifelines, 4 horizons, 6 Valkyries with that skyward dive coming in clutch, and Natsuki is getting fried. Ampy sends out that barrel to use it to get out of the line of sight of the team over to the left side. They're trying to take different angles. 07 in some trouble here with only Ampy having the best Evo shield health here versus his other teammates, but Nasky will be able to pop this med kit as the reset comes in.
Damn, I didn't even know that angle on top of the little barrel in the middle of the room there. That's a sneaky little one from Nasky. And you can see he has to pop the ultimate there just to buy his team some time, because you saw how low the other two members of 07 were. So look, no, it doesn't do much damage to Vex, but it does buy them the time for the fight reset, which is very important here. Now we're pretty much back to that clean 3v3 status.
Really highlights how important having a body there is. The Havoc has been terrorizing since the start of Season 20. Babylons, who we had the stats here, always trying to frag out. Averaging roughly 14 KP here. Yeah, the res does come out, but they do get the dirty off of Clemmy in the process of that. They don't let the res fully come out just yet here. The res will come out from behind them before they finish off that last player. And 07, they take out Vex, and they have a gold knockdown, so they get the res with some extra health on Tenacity.
Damn, if only the lifeline had that right. I mean, that was actually one of the situations, like, you know, most teams say, oh, you know, you don't want to have to rely on people going down. That's where a lot of Lifeline's power is. That's why I think up until now, she wasn't a priority pick in competition level. But you're seeing there one of those situations where, you know, you are locked out a little bit from the other team, and you can safely pop the res while, you know, your character is still up and running. So Lifeline showing her utility there, even if they don't end up winning the fight.
By the way, this is still happening. Mandy is still on the Pathfinder, sticking to what they feel is their comfort, where they feel like they could excel. Hey, you know, we saw some Pathfinder earlier on in APAC, so you can see some magic happen here for 40% worse because they desperately need it. Talk about some of the teams that are on the overall standings on the bottom end of those standings. It is going to be 40% worse. They did not have the best day the last time we saw this team perform last weekend on Sunday. So they have all the opportunity right now to make some magic happen as we take a look at more of the teams that have made their rotation over to Dome.
Yeah, definitely a few teams down in Dome. I mean, Amit was around in the area when 07 won that fight, but they weren't quite close enough to push the issue against Nasky and co. Definitely a chance it comes, you know, back to somewhere around Stacks, Big Maud, maybe. Definitely not a lot of teams reading this as Lava Siphon, as 202. Pretty much the only one sort of on the other side of the mountains.
Some nice 30-30 shots. Imagine the Skull Piercer was on that one. Outplayed have the high ground here, but there's so many different angles that other teams could try to presumably poke from, especially from the building roof side over to their backs. But they're just going to be hanging out here for now. They probably already got that Evo Harvester when they made that rotate in earlier. But with blue Evos and more teams sharing some of that space, it's also denying the opportunity for those teams to get those Evo shields up to purple to get a second perk on board.
And as we mentioned before, team's going to be a little bit further behind at the moment, right? Like getting up to that purple. You know, most teams will be 200 behind that. Here we go. Fight. This is over in the ring at Overlook here with 40% worse. Getting the better of AURORA here, who are now actually having to pull back all the way into Epicenter to potentially get some sort of reset out of this.
I mean, there's a replicator there. There's a respawn beacon there. Love this overhead that you can see right now in Epi. 40% worse, getting the jump on 9 Impulse. And they're also going to be able to get the beacon scan over by Overlook before they start making their rotate. Lasite France, another team, as well as 2 Rats 1 controller that have taken their time to play by the edge of where the circle is going to be pulling. But take a look at the amount of teams that are in stacks, overlapping each other. More of the teams that don't want to get caught in the heat. Cybercats playing by that tunnel side that we saw them trying to contest TSM Phoenix earlier for. 202 still playing on the outskirts in case they could try to go around by the bridge side. We do hear that res coming out, and they are able to get 9 Impulse back into the game.
Okay, very nice. Oh, some Passion taking an evac. down from Dome on the map. Plenty of everyone just really heading into stacks at the moment. This is gonna be a fun one. This is almost like an old school kind of construction. I mean, you know, that was kind of the law basically in Apex, wasn't it? That they basically airlifted the construction building over to the other side of World's Edge and dumped it down here under Big Mod. So yeah, it looks like we're going to get that style of end circle here.
Why don't we take this and put it over here? Exactly what they did here. Nice scan coming in from Henchman. He's got the Beast of the Hunt, and they want more of those scans, so they are going to give Henchman that gold helmet. Look how quickly he's able to get it here, too. He's about to get another scan on board. You can see that he's going to be at his scan a lot quicker, too, looking at the first perk he was able to pick here. Really important for Passion, one of the teams that we highlighted that definitely needs to bring out a lot of what we saw the last time that they were able to perform on match day 7.
Yeah, I know you said you've been playing a bit of Bloodhounds in comp as well, Vicky, and you know, I've been definitely been dabbling, and I know that when you pick that tactical cooldown perk, you feel it, man. You're like, you are smashing that button again and again and again, and it really feels like you just do have that scan on repeat now with that perk upgrade.
That and having the gold helmet, oh, it's like Christmas. You get that scan all the time, and then when you get level 3 perk, you get the Odin's Glare that we've been seeing picked mostly by our pros here, where it doubles the duration of that tactical full body scan, so you have information at all times for these final circles. You see more of these teams still playing on the outskirts, not fully trying to commit over to stacks, but wanting to have that rotate where they could come from the high to low ground. The only issue is, if that circle does continue to pull into stacks, which it does look like it is, there's little to no cover for the teams that have to rotate out of Dome.
Not a lot for them, but there's also, I don't know, I'm starting to wonder what kind of options 202 have got there as they're looking at other teams rotating. That was LCDF that was sort of pulling in from Lava Siphon above them, and then you've got 40% worse who are still gatekeeping Aurora, by the way. That's where those 30-30 shots are going. Aurora have had to switch which choke they're coming through. They're currently still in the zone. They're about to start taking that zone 3 damage, so they better be getting in quickly, because as we all know, with the changes to crafters and, you know, crafting materials and all that, it is not that easy to find the med kits, to find enough supplies to keep yourself alive during zone 3 anymore.
Actually makes your eyes water with how much of that tick damage comes into play. Nice little overhead here too. Aurora now finally getting out of that circle, 40% worse, making that rotate from Big Mod. If they were thinking that the rocks were going to be cleared over by the east side, sorry, Forge got you beat to that one. And I do like that position that Forge is in, because while a lot of these teams are going to be playing inside of these buildings, they could get a clear rotate point, but it's about not getting pinched by the squads that have to rotate out of Dome once again as we take a look at the next circle.
Check that.
Cybercats, though, they had called this out with the 50-50 rotate, whether they want to go by the bridge side or if they want to stay in the vault tunnel.
That's a huge position for Cybercats. I mean, yeah, like, you definitely do see people get entered in those tunnels, right? Like when push comes to shove at the end of this circle, people are just going to run it down there. They're going to throw all their nades, all their utility. They will be throwing the caustic ult in there as well to try and take that position away from Cybercats. But if they can resist that pressure, if they can manage their own utility well enough to try and dissuade people from making that decision, then they have a really good and clear walkout to this end circle.
Especially with their comp that they're running, the Mad Maggie, Raid, Caustic, crazy comp that Cybercats is bringing out, but nothing that we're unfamiliar with while we take a look at 2 Rats with Controller rocking the Crypto and Lifeline. Let's jump into a listening with 2 Rats with Controller as they ping where they want to rotate to.
45, Caustic.
I'm fine on me, I'm popping about. Then we need to play for bottom, we need to play for bottom, there's no other option.
They take the spot
They're fighting that. I'm taking Geyser into them.
Wait, there's another team of Siphon still, Yarka.
It's fine, I'm going here.
Okay.
I'm going in the house and then we hold house. Be careful with tunnel picking up.
Team on top.
Watch in tunnel. Tunnels are
taking out my drone, guys. If the Siphon team goes 3, we need to force it.
60 bank.
Guys, I'm giving goal, look. They're both here. I'm
climbing up, missing, climb up.
I MP 2 teams.
Stay back,
Dog pushing you as well.
Stay back.
The other team was pushing.
Finish the guy.
Nice. The other team was here as well. I'm watching tunnel.
I'm dying.
All you guys.
All the other team is really close.
Here on us.
I'm gonna
He's
get
purpling to
one.
me.
Yeah, that's
He's
fair,
on
that's
me.
fair. Go house, go house, go house.
I'm one.
I'm inside.
I got
Done one.
climb up. Shoot this guy if you can.
Miss you, bro. Our back, you need to watch your back, bro. You need to watch your back, please. I can see Cook Sako. Just give me a second.
Get him out the back.
Gonna see Cook Sako. I'm gonna seek him now. I'm gonna seek and we need to make pressure on tunnel.
Yeah, Uksako, come at the tunnel, teams. You need to come at the tunnel. They're in tunnel. They're in tunnel.
The callouts for not just the third party, but the fourth party potential from cybercats still being in the vault tunnel, putting in some pressure and forcing 2 rats 1 controller now to play this out as a duo, as AURORA had capitalized on the other side, but they were able to pinch the seat de France in the process of that entire fight.
I mean, frankly, I'm a little surprised that AURORA got away with that 40% worse. You know, here we go there. It's the full send now from them. This time 40% worse have actually let them, you know, try and get something done themselves. But, well, just not having anything go their way, really, in this game. Not taking the fight against 2R1C here, who have got their hands on the Kraber. And, of course, that's what you want. You see, and oh my god, the opening here now. They can just push into the tunnel, and this is the perfect time for this to happen on zone close, Vicky.
Yeah, Uchaka was literally one with that HP. Even if they wanted to close in on this with the ring closing in behind them, the ring was the nail in the coffin when they were forced to push into that vault tunnel. They had taken too long, even after getting that res and that insane Kraber shot. cybercats now. Now they're just trying to inch their way closer to that next circle to see if they could get that res slowly while the fight is happening on the other side of the vault opening.
Very interesting comp there. I'm sure we'll get back to that later. At the moment, we've got so many teams over in stacks, and then there's just a couple. It's full English versus a MIT on the southern side. You know, I feel like we used to get quite a few zones that would end around here. You know, it would pull up towards Dome, and you'd have people running up the hill. It was a real struggle here, but now with all the buildings available in stacks, it's a little bit easier than it used to be.
Setting out those arc stars here. Especially with the falling stars perk if the Watson's got that. Bryn trying to get into a different position, but he's getting pinged by another team that has him in his line of sight. Noises now just trying to loop here before sending out the crypto drone. It's all these caustic barrels too. Doesn't look like he's even able to take advantage of the EMP. He did have it here, but taking onto the high ground is going to be Serdell backing away in time. But they do note that there's still another team that has him in their line of sight.
Yeah, they're playing around their gen very well there. You can see them just dipping back in to get those shield regens, and that's netted them some upgrades there. You can see the crypto going for his level 3 perk upgrade, and now Full English have completely cleared out that southern side. You can see cybercats, unfortunately, the zone pulling away from the tunnel. They have to start working their way in. I mean, they're playing the very interesting Maggie Wraith and Caustic composition, which we saw Reject win on World's Edge just last night in their dominating performance in that APAC North Regional Finals.
The fact that that Wraith can always have that portal online too for these type of rotations right here. cybercats finding themselves secured inside a building. Getting scanned though, this is one other thing you have to mention. With this comp, they lack information. They don't have the blowdown like so many of these other teams do, nor crypto. So it's about just playing neutral here on this floor while getting as much information as possible for the other squads that are around them.
And you know what's interesting about that, Vicky, is I feel like we've seen shifts as we get the ring closing in here. Actually, might just get a little bit hectic here. There's a lot of teams who are losing their buildings, and I think we're about to see a big crush.
Mandy is cooking right now, charging up the Sentinel. How are we going to approach this onto the high ground? They see the team trying to get out from the door side. So if we're taking some damage here. The fight is happening above them, though. They do want to get involved with so many teams sharing this one building to their left, and then the team right in front of them, there's that information. 10 hostiles scanned of that one scan, and you can see ANC playing for their life right on the high ground here from OP.
I mean, look at that. Mostly purples there, so if you're on the blue shields, you're definitely at a disadvantage at this moment. You know, 40% worse of this much. Don't have a lot to lose at this stage in the this stage in the split, basically. So you can see there's, you know, they're going for it. Mandy on his trademark Pathfinder.
Seeing 9 squads left here for this circle because there's so much real estate to share. As you can see right here from this building alone, there's like 5 teams sharing that building to the left of 40% worse, while Full English is looking at all this chaos like this is none of our business. They're just going to keep trying to group the teams that are going to have to forcibly rotate out into the open from the low ground, where they're naturally going to be at the disadvantaged positioning. Outplayed do get eliminated from the roof side, though. Another position that you can easily get pinched with so many different pipelines that the teams have.
What a hectic high ground there. Look at that setup from Full English. Who's going to be able to challenge that? Only if we've got the crypto EMPs coming out. And look, Passion UA, they've got one online. The only other crypto left alive is, of course, on Full English themselves with noises.
In here, too, Full English looking to the sky. Falling bodies, literally. Don't know where they're going. Zanya is able to get a knock off the caustic gas, but it's Full English that have to hold the ground here. Oh, they were waiting by the build. Okay. From the oob and then dropping down eventually, but it does take some time to get your weapon out after some of the oob changes. 40% worse do get called out from playing underneath the bridge side. Full English are now trying to hold back this team, trying to cross this bridge while there's a Moby right below their feet to give them some extra cover. Passion get eliminated. 4 squads now left in this lobby. It's GoNext, Redragon, Full English, and Made in Heaven.
Made in Heaven, they had that building to the right to themselves for quite a long time, where the other teams on the left, as we said, it was just a full traffic jam over there, but no one has been able to challenge this position from Full English. But now it finally gets pushed out. They have to start doing it the hard way as they move in.
Full English are in the god spot right now. Here comes the EMP as they drop down and take 2 different angles, fight the team that's playing off the low ground. No knockdown shield could save you here. As Full English, what a positioning, even from Noises having the height, taking a different split angle, and they absolutely wipe out the rest of the lobby and take game number 1. One of the teams that we highlighted that needed to have a pop-off game since they were currently sitting in 12th place in the overall standings.
And they have done just that. That was absolutely phenomenal by Full English. I mean, you know, you see those fights that happen, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes ago, right, Vicky? Where they're fighting for that southern edge of the zone. And, you know, that was it. That was basically the game. At that point, there might have been 12 squads left alive. But at that point, they really had it wrapped up.
Yeah, and it was great that you pointed out the fact that they had cleared that south side. My biggest fear is if there were teams looking at them from the high ground, from the roof side, that they would have Full English in their line of sight. But with so many other squads sharing that stacks building, there's other things for concern here for those teams that may have had them in their line of sight that allowed Full English to just freely take control over that space that they were basically, their LOS was covered. Not only with the Watch and Gen being right there to negate any sort of nade or any spam that they may have to get pulled out from, the Nox grenade being a big one too. They could hold that position thanks to the Gen, and they were able to clear out the rest of the lobby. I believe they finished not just with the dub, but with 9 KP there at the very end.
Yeah, pretty solid effort there from Full English. And, you know, they're playing Watson, Crypto, Valkyrie, right? It's an interesting composition. It gives you a lot of defensive capability, a little bit of offensive capability with the Crypto. And then, of course, you got the rotation with the Valk. And, you know, we were discussing Valk a lot last week, you know, my cast in APAC South, and I feel like it's in an interesting spot right now where if you don't have that many Valks in the lobby, essentially you can try and find spots that other teams sort of aren't able to rotate into late in the game. It's a lot harder with evacs at this point. There is still a difference between taking a Skyward Dive and taking the evac tower, and I think compared to when we had the meta where Valk was at like 100% pick rate, everybody is flying in for those spots. But now that we only have a couple, it does give you a little more priority with that legend pick.
That and the OOP changes too, right? We talked about it a little bit at the very end of that last game, but it wasn't off of the Valk. It was the fact that you could still have your weapon out and preemptively do a startup on an ability if you're dropping down and you know there's a team below you because of the Valk passive that scans people in the air. And with these changes and seeing Valk being brought into the meta, like you mentioned, the more Valk that there is, the less likely you want to take that Skyward Dive end circle because you know other teams will be able to be situated there. But they also are running the Valk and Watson, so you got more of those Arc Stars that you can work with from the Missile Swarm, and we get to work with our Match 1 results here. Full English did indeed not only take the dub, but they did take it with that 9 KP, but pretty heavy KP overall for our top 10 teams here. Looking specifically at Passion UA with that 7 KP, cybercats with 6 KP when they had to fight for that Vault Tunnel rotation side. I do believe they had taken out TSM Phoenix off the very beginning to get to that spot. Made in Heaven, and even Redragon coming in second.
Yeah, well, Redragon sort of flew under the radar for us, I think, a little bit that time. Solid result from them. And then, yeah, we're seeing 2 Rats Control, who obviously was struggling over the other side. AURORA, like, honestly, with how harassed they were that entire game, with how much it looked like they were in Struggle Town, 4 points, I would take that. They went out pretty early. So, honestly, I'm giving that one to them. Element 6 obviously dropping earlier. We had Dia dropping in the comms in to us before, saying both these teams were contesting Sky West last time these groups played each other. So I guess instead of trying to split Skyhook up and go, you know, one Sky East, one Sky West or something like that, they're just going to juke it out. So I guess that that may continue to happen on our other 2 games of World Edge.
We can also take a look at our top 3 teams and how they were able to do with a breakdown of that game. Full English with 3.3k damage overall. Nice follow-ups that we're seeing here between Surdell, Noises too, coming in clutch with those EMPs, especially at the very end, and with how caustic heavy this lobby has been. Redragons, though, Jukes being on that lifeline. Talk about nice diversity in terms of the compositions that we've been exposed to. Even Taxington being on the caustic, Arctic still being on the Valkyrie. So much to break down here, guys, but there's still another game on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. One more game here on World's Edge before transition to the 3rd game after that. 2 more games, rather, on World's Edge, and then we'll be going on to Stormpoint.
Welcome back, everyone, as match day 8 continues here in EMEA Genome. That was one heck of a game with, honestly, a fantastic finish. Full English dominated that endgame zone, but they fought for it long before.
I mean, yeah, look, just like the breakfast they're named after, they had pretty much everything you could want there in that end game, right? I mean, you know, they had the high ground positioning, they had the composition to play it, and they had all the time in the world to just waltz out on that catwalk and just rain hellfire down upon all the other teams below them. It was a really easy way for them to sort of finish off that game. Hard work getting there in the end, or sorry, like rather in the start of the game, but certainly that made it easier towards the end.
Yeah, all the rotations into stacks culled a lot of teams, be it from the low ground over by Lava Siphon or from the high ground by Dome, but now that we're getting into our 2nd game on World's Edge, we're going to see all of that change, as it is, I'll say more than likely, Genome, that we end up going somewhere else. Stacks has been a pretty rare spot for end games for the most part, and now we'll get a bit of a sample of where else things can go and how different compositions may work on other places in this map.
Well, look, congratulations for, you know, for Caster cursing it. I guess we're going back to stacks now because T said we're not. So that's just how it works. Sorry. Ooh, 202 with the Fuse Conduit Horizon composition. That one tickles my fancy.
Yeah, had not expected 202 to honestly deviate that much. Just last week, they were running Caustic Blood Bang with everyone else, and granted, maybe it didn't get the results they were looking to. Last time that these groups met, 202 ended up in 13th place, and they're going to need a whole lot more points than that to secure themselves regionals and playoffs performances. So, match number 2 may have them picking up a few more KP as they did in the first one, with Shri becoming a real hotspot.
Oh my god, okay. We've got something very fun happening over here. Not only do we have LCDF versus Element 6, but 40% worse have dropped in Skyhook and just decided to spice things up a little bit.
And they're already walking up behind LCDF, who should now be aware that there are 2 teams on them with no real place to hide, no real ability to bunker down, no Caustic. LCDF have this building and nothing more. They're even splitting the floors.
Oh, but maybe because we have 3 teams rather than 2, they're playing a little bit safer. All teams disengaging at the moment, while down here at Tree, things are beginning in earnest.
And this fight not going to be third-partied in the same way, but mine still, even after having gotten a weapon this time, don't seem to be on the greatest end of this trade. Dolgaran has already had to use the Radiant Transfer in order to keep their own shields up, and YOLO is almost down.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. The Buster Sword's OP. Didn't you play that mode? Like, why do you need...
If only they could kick it in right now. At the moment, 2R1C, though, have heard the commotion and are starting to walk over, letting 202 disengage, but it's causing more problems for Mind.
So a lot of rogue elements in these contests to start over with here in EMEA. Some tricksy games being played by some of these teams. Obviously, getting an assault bin to start off with is a little bit helpful in terms of, you know, getting that 100 towards your Evo, but much more impactful in terms of being well kitted out in one of these start fights where you often have to go at it with no attachments whatsoever. Somehow, all this disengaging has happened, and we've only had 1 kill so far, though.
And 202 and Mind both will be grateful that that's all that happened in the south side of this map, because it's a very quick rotation that they can make into a rather south-pulling zone. This is very, very different, despite the fact that it's also on the south side of the map, Gino.
Yeah, I mean, if we trust that it's going to keep going down to Thermal Station, which I definitely do not. I think we were having a look at that map before of where the zones have pulled so far in EMEA, so far this split. I don't think we had a staging zone, so maybe it's time.
Very well could be. Trust no one and nothing, Gino. At this point, this whole area is up for grabs, and a lot of teams are making early rotations in. Notably, LCDF and Element 6, who have both survived in Skyhook, are taking their time on a slow loot through that area and should be able to avoid each other, given that they've both got Evo Harvesters that can take them in different directions.
Yeah, that certainly can pull you a little bit off track when you're having to worry about those Evo Harvesters now in Season 20. It is a big shakeup, certainly. Over here at Lava Cypher, we've got ANC Outplayed and a couple of 202 players. From what I can see, they're split, so that's right. So yeah, okay, so that was the one 202 player that went down over at Tree. The other 2... it's almost like they're playing the double rat strategy at the moment.
Yeah, it may be your best chance at survival, especially since they have a conduit and can craft banners. If you split up, go different directions, maybe you have a better chance of actually finding a crafter that's unoccupied. For them, though, we'll see whether they get back into the game. We'll see whether they get to participate. For right now, I'm really curious about where ANC Outplayed end up moving, as they should already have afterburners on Valk, giving her the extra height on ult, and can bypass this fight if they want to. Mind currently holding the fences and keeping ANC Outplayed at bay.
Wow, there's a little bit of a problem, though, for them, is that Amit just hit the survey beacon down at Tree, and they noticed that one of the Mind players was very much split from their team members, and there you go, Blast will actually confirm that kill, and Mind now down to 2.
Killfeed's got me wondering what's going on with this 40% worse and Aurora clash again as these two teams once again find each other, and Mandy's already gotten an opener with the Sentinel from the low ground. 40% worse are fighting this out slowly, but they have the numbers advantage and should be able, if this continues, to take out the next two members of Aurora.
God, the second game in a row that Aurora find themselves on the ropes. I mean, we were theory crafting at the start of this show, dear, about Aurora messing with other teams, but so far they have only been on the receiving end.
And it's so difficult to predict how a team like 40% worse will play, especially this late in the season and this low on the leaderboards. 40% worse need every point possible in order to keep themselves in the Pro League. And so they are playing more aggressively, perhaps in a way that is just naturally pathing them along the same place as Aurora, when Aurora have not had to deal with that all season long. Full English set themselves up in Harvester. Very different read on how to play the game. This is, for my part, much more chill.
Absolutely, down here in Harvester with just a couple of other teams sitting around there. TSM Phoenix, one of them. Oh, but on the zone close out here near Lava Siphon, it's a little more hectic here. VexX, Redragon, ANC, Outplayed, trying to find their way back into the buildings of Lava Siphon before it is too late.
Zone at their backs does let Redragon slip back into the red, tank this for a little while, and while the ring will deal quite a bit of damage to them, given that they've got Lifeline, Redragon should be able to stabilize a little bit later on into the game. The same cannot be said of teams in Harvester who are getting converged on over and over. TSM Phoenix, one of those squads that does have to keep their eyes out, controlling the entirety of this snake, a very difficult thing to do. Fraz, as the Beast of the Hunt expires, is going to have limited options when it comes to fending off subsequent squads.
Nice little spot for TSM Phoenix to just chill here for now, and it does look like it could be a staging pull, dear. So TSM Phoenix, while they are safe for now, will have to think about a move in the next circle. Over here in Ghost Town, we've got 202. Once again, Aurora, they are really bringing up their, you know, damage from the ring stats so far this series. Every time we go at them, you know, they're having trouble. And as we said, this time it's with 202.
I can't help but wonder what on earth is going on. It is not every day that you see the Fuse wrap in zone with a P2020 no hammer points, but it's what 202 are given to Aurora right now. And the escape of Aurora will be helped again by the fact that they are another squad that's running a support legend. So they've got the opportunity to craft if they've got the meds to survive in this ring, something that's going to be increasingly difficult. The zone, however, is going to refocus us on staging. As you called out, the zone that has pulled a little further north. We're not going thermal this time, and that's given the edge over to, say, teams like Forge, who hold the high ground.
Yeah, or Passion, who just rotated in, and they were definitely a team. I was very impressed with their rotational abilities, their, you know, their IGLing and their ability to make their way into those final circles, definitely pushing them up towards the top of teams in terms of their average placements and how many placement points that translates into per game.
As LCDF make their way in from the top side of the ring, they've got survey and ring consoles available, with cybercats holding them out. 40% worse are going to come up behind this, so there's likely a fight brewing in Landslide if none of these teams relocate soon, and a 3-team engagement is going to be one that's difficult to come out of alive, especially for LCDF.
So, I mean, it's tough for anybody, isn't it? When you're playing against some of the best teams in your region, let alone the world. cybercats, I mean, they made it out of the tunnels alive last time, and, you know, didn't last too long after that. But, I don't know, just living their mole life this series, I guess.
Is this GodCom for holding Landslide Tunnel? With Caustic and Maggie and Wraith? I mean, I can't think of somebody else who would really help you survive. Maybe Watson?
Surely you think of the Rampart here, dear.
Oh, you're right. I'm picking Rampart in any situation. I'll be real with you, though, Gino. When I pick Rampart, it is not to survive. It is to Sheila. It is.
I'm not gonna lie, I picked her more than I've ever picked her before this season, and I've been really enjoying her. Sadly, you know, for competitive teams, maybe don't necessarily agree, but you know, with the bandolier upgrade, getting the extra ammo stacks and all that kind of stuff, she does feel a little bit more like an assault character now.
There's a chance, everyone. Rampart Kingdom, it's coming for you. Much like 202 are coming into Landslide. What we already mentioned was a difficult spot, one that likely had some conflict brewing. And speaking of conflict, we've got some over in the north end of the ring as LCDF do, in fact, clash with 40% worse and in the red, no less.
Whoa, okay, so some early upgrades there for 40% worse. Give them a good chance to take this fight, but it looks like they want to disengage because LCDF are holding a lot of these angles from inside the ring here. As you can see, the Bloodhound pushing out just to try and get a little bit of an advantage, but now they will rotate around either side of that rock as a big sniper shot, I think that was, came through there for the knock.
It should just be a little bit of poke. Nobody in the area to actually capitalize on LCDF now that 40% worse took the other way around. Surviving on the low ground for now. 40% worse also need to contend with Forge, who hold height at staging. We mentioned the power position they had earlier. 40% worse, though, have one tool that no one else in this game has. A Pathfinder to make your height take even easier.
Yeah, give me them zip lines. Cybercats here, trying to hold out 202 in the Vault Tunnel. Oh, okay. No. We've got the knuckle clusters coming through, though, just to try and clear them out even more. As you can see, though, caustic traps are slowly working their way through that. But I feel like they should be able to just slowly siege them and push them out with this fuse on their side. You know, we've picked the Knuckle Hustler upgrade there, which is going to give Fuse the ability to just run in as soon as some of those Knuckle clusters start hitting.
Now that Zanya's down, 202 could finish this off. Miscam gets counter-knocked by the gas, though. And while Rakafaka covers, 202 will start slowly pushing up. You've only got the offensive power of the Maggie left, and it connects onto Ozzy Owl, forcing him back and to his teammates. Playing a white knockdown shield, Rakafaka does cover and cover well, but does not find a counter knock. In comes the rest of the damage, and still 202 have to reset. They managed to get Ozzy back into the fight. They have a little bit of the tunnel, but even this tunnel isn't in zone. They still have to fight Cybercats.
Yeah, 25 seconds though. There's a little bit of time, but you're right, they do have to clear them out. Cybercats, they find their way back into zone. That position they're holding on the other side of those bins, they can sit there if they need to, and they're not really in danger of anyone right now. Redragon, however, are pushing in on the other side to potentially pressure and sandwich 202.
It's two of Cats left alive. Rakafaka and Ozzy the Owl are going to push up on it now, as Cats look like they're going down. Redragon, who committed onto the low ground themselves, turn onto height. The Cybercats expire right behind them, but Redragon are already looking for their next engagement. A Bangalore ult out to claim the height. And with the Kraber they've got, if they can hold this height, they will be in an incredible spot.
More care package weapons here. You can see the Eva ringing out below there. We've even got a Spitfire running here on K-Sawini, but it doesn't quite work out for him. So now Slab just has to lob a few Arc Stars in here in the hopes that he maybe catches one out. Gives himself an opening to drop down, but they don't hit.
Spitfire, Hipfire, not what it used to be, but Bloodhound drop from above will at least mean that they collect 1 KP off of that. Omit getting the other, I believe 2, as it was 2R1C that was cleaned up in that corner. Everybody again going to have to exit from Thermal Station on the next ring close. Forge, now the focus is 40% worse, have moved up to share space with them. This God spot that Forge had now challenged as Monday goes down, Shiv goes down, and LCDF are even getting involved.
Bad understanding of the sightlines there. As a lot of 40% worse go down, why don't we listen to what Forge are doing as they try and push into this building?
They're all both on the left side, okay? Yeah. We clear this and we walk into our spot. I do not have Casticle anymore.
No, scan.
I have nades for the card if you have to. We need to play if you scan, get full HP.
Yeah.
Scan where they are.
Yeah, scan in 3, scan in 3. Can we take
they're on this side. Take space. Look at this guy. Go for
Kill
it.
them, kill them, kill them. I'm sliding on it, okay? Sliding right now.
Slide forward. Blood is a low ground. The bang is
on the bang,
bang flash. Horizon ult, careful.
I got the Horizon ult. Destroy that, please.
I destroyed it.
I'm on.
You need to heal, you need to heal. We need to go back to the cards, guys. We need to go on the tracks. We need to get on the tracks. Follow me. Kevin nades.
I'm coming. There's nades. I can't.
I'm gonna set in the card and set it up and hold.
Coming now. I don't know if I can cross.
Blood on 102, blood on 102.
I cannot. I'm 1 HP, bro.
Just get in the card when you can. We're in zone here.
And medkits?
Yeah, drop one inside.
I'm still healing.
I need energy.
Alright, we can clear them after this. When we healed up, we can clear them.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
They're right here now on the track still. We need to kill them. It's a full team. It's a full team.
Yeah, this is another team.
Forge have managed to stabilize, but still have LCDF on their backs, are still dealing with this as the rest of the ring has closed in, pushing teams further in from the eastern side. LCDF have no choice but to deal with the team in front of them, and Forge do much the same, attempting to take height. Slayers has massive mobility on Valkyrie, but cannot cover Phoenix enough to keep them from going down. It's a knock 1-for-1. Hipfire Havoc does the rest. Forge survive. LCDF are down, but it's just Savage left resetting on the high ground. Will Forge get pushed after this?
Yeah, it was the Sentinel coming out from Max Strafe, but Amit looked like they're trying to clear this high ground. They want it all to themselves. Lufka just holding the stairs while Blast and Light here go in to see if they can get those re-knocks and stop LCDF from being able to reset here. I mean, this is one of the most classic staging zones you can get, Dia. It will finish, you know, with teams just having to jump off the high ground at staging and, you know, teams underneath. It's a really fun one. But this position from the teams on the high ground is a good one to start with to certainly get yourself at least, say, top 5.
Exactly, some placement points that can come in with this. Omit are looking for kill points, though, playing actively, even as they hold on to height that surely Forge will contest them for. This little bit of territory they've got with an Eva should make cleaning up a squad that you choose to drop on eventually a little bit easier than it would otherwise be, but they will have to make sure that they keep high ground as this next round closes in.
Well, they're just going to drop on Slab. They smoke him to make sure that they don't take too much damage as they push down here, and the man is gone before you can blink.
Back up to high ground they go. It looks like this will be uncontested. Redragon on the lower end of this ring are going to move in and take just a little bit of the central area for themselves. Another smoke in order to cover Redragon's sight lines. Make sure that they're safe from the squad in the center. An Arc Star gets dodged by Fit. Redragon actually have some nice space here. They can't be shot from above. Nobody can wrap them through the building.
Some nice space, Dia. They've got 13 kills as well. Damn,
Red Shields. These Red Shields are not making themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. They are painted with the blood of their enemies at the moment. That is a fierce game here from Redragon. God, if they can close this one out, they will be taking some serious points into our last game of World's Edge here. But as you can see, Amit on the high ground. We've got Passion on the low ground. Passion UA here. They are sitting up on the crane, and then Redragon have probably the better spot in terms of being able to stay on the high ground for just a little bit longer, which moments can mean everything in these final circles.
I've got to imagine that Passion UA have one of the better positions with the high ground that should last them a little bit longer into the zone. The biggest problem for both Omit and Passion UA is Redragon. So a lot of pressure is being focused on the northeastern side of the ring. Redragon, in fact, having already lost one, and now with the zone closing in on them, these 13 kills have gotten them a lot of points. It may not be that many more.
Losing someone there, incredibly unfortunate here as Omit try and finish this one off. Now, they've taken a little bite, but they want some more.
Committing an ult for this does mean that Omit can't effectively fight Passion UA on the high ground. Second scan comes in, but just a few seconds longer are left on Omit's cooldown. Max Strafe, though, commits onto the low ground and into the Eva. We talked about this. Light rips through them, and Omit start to turn the fight. Blast has 1 HP left and will not survive the ensuing chaos as a few shots come in from below, and from below, you know Passion are coming in for the third party and coming in for the win.
Oh man, that is such a weird endgame for staging. Okay, that was almost like the opposite of what we usually see, and the reason that happened is just because teams, I think, understood how important high ground is, so they were pushing so hard for the high ground that by the time they got up there, they took too many blows. They were pretty much bleeding out, and then that, you know, the brilliant use of the evac tower to catapult them up to the high ground there for Passion means they actually take it out in the end. Wow.
It's one of those situations where as Redragon, you must be sitting there going, like, really, we're everyone's best option? Like, because they didn't have a game-winning position. They just had one that was a little annoying to both winning teams. And with everyone playing for the win, playing for first place, is the team on low ground that comes up with the win. It's a cool way to turn things around, the dynamic of Apex Legends, that actually lets low ground, lets less desirable positions actually be quite powerful, Gino.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It does sort of change the tides in that sort of way, doesn't it? But yeah, I just can't help but wonder if there was an option there for Redragon to play a little bit safer, or, I mean, obviously we didn't see exactly how that knock happened, but they just had such a good position that if they had have been able to stay as a 3-man for another 20 or 30 seconds, I feel like they could have had it all wrapped up.
Yeah, very, very likely. And one of the things that Redragon didn't have there that they had throughout the rest of their rotation was a high ground spot to play from. When they were coming from, say, positions like Harvester, we actually praised Redragon for their ability to take control of hills and high grounds, bullying teams that had to rotate around them. So when you're the squad that eventually rotates in and has to sit on low ground in staging at a truck, I mean, it may not feel great, but you had plenty of time to make use of the advantages you did have, and 13 kills is not going to be bad on the overall scoreboards.
No, certainly not. That's still going to pick them up something pretty big, I imagine, when we get to have a look at that. And there it is. So 18 points. Yeah, there you go. Equal to the winners of that game.
And a very nicely played game for Passion, who did take that top spot. Redragon, however, as we mentioned, their kills do, I hesitate to say answer back, but certainly stay in that conversation and will continue to be a point of focus throughout the following games. Redragon's 13 kills take them again to 18 points, tying them with Passion and Passion UA. I know, guys, it's a lot of Passion we've got. It is Apex Legends after all. Do grab second place. Let's take a look, however, at the teams that did not make it into the end game, and for many, not even close. Teams like 202, and despite all the waves they made in this game, 40% worse, changed the fates of so many, and only walked away with 2 points.
Yeah, it's not a great conversion rate for them in terms of, as you say, you know, they're sort of casting themselves as the villains rather than the main characters here in Game 2, which is, you know, sort of the opposite, I think, of how a lot of the community see them, being such positive figures and such, you know, really loved figures as far as a lot of them go in their streaming careers, as well as seeing them here with the best in the world. But yeah, look, moving further down, hasn't been a great start to the day for 07. Having a look at again, you know, rub your glasses here. You're not seeing double. Of course, there is a Passion and a Passion UA now in EMEA. But yeah, they did pretty well. Interesting to see that big difference in the damage, though, between the two teams.
And the biggest contributor to this is that active position that we talked about. From the low ground, you're just not able to get nearly as much done. Redragon, however, very much, despite honestly not breaking 2K, not going crazy in the damage, though these are good numbers, managed to collect a lot of kills in the same way because of their position. When high ground and control of the teams that are rotating around you matters so much, Gino.
No, absolutely. You know, Lifeline coming in there again. We're seeing so much of that in EMEA. But yeah, look, let's have a look at how the teams are going overall so far this series. We'll get there in a second, but yeah, I think as you said, you know, that's how you get to reds, right? You're having a look at those damage numbers there, spread out across the team, and of course you're not in that place anymore, DR, where you can just shuffle across an armor to someone else and be like, hey, Mr. Skull Piercer, like, you mind getting my Evo up?
Yeah, it's not nearly as easy, and these games have certainly been difficult. In fact, let's take a look at the series results, because going into our final game of World's Edge in just a few minutes, this is where things stand right now with Redragon. After a second place performance in game 1, and then the kills they got in game 2, they're looking dominant.
Yeah, huge for them right now, leading in both categories, in both placement and kills across this series. So fantastic for them. Full English, however, more leaning on just that first game, but certainly not such a bad start to the series. But then you're looking down, you've got, yeah, AURORA and 07 sitting next to each other on that bottom side of the scoreboard. Maybe not something we're used to seeing, but at the same time, they've got the kind of quality that you wonder if they will bring it back towards the latter half of this series.
Now, we've still got plenty of games left to play. Only one left on World's Edge. Can Redragon continue this domination and rocket up the leaderboards? We'll find out in just a few minutes.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been high-octane action non-stop. I love how Gino and Dia were able to take us through that second game. We still got one more game on World's Edge. And what in the Redragon, as they were sitting in the 28th overall standings, is happening today? Because the last time these teams have played against each other between Group A and Group B, Dia was just talking to us. Redragon came in 18th. So obviously, Season 20 is doing something different to Redragon.
Yeah, they have, they've cottoned on to something, haven't they? That's such an incredible difference in performance from the first to the second time that we've seen these guys compete here. And yeah, look, you know, it's not like it was just a one-game wonder either. As Dia said, you know, both game 1 and game 2, they have been performing.
Yeah, game 1, they came in second place. Game 2, they came in that top 3. And it's great to see if they could keep that up because, again, it is this last game on World's Edge. If they find their success here on this map, can they keep themselves consistently going into that Storm Point with the same results? That is the question. Let's not waste any more time. Do you know game number 3 now, after Passion took that, game number 2 is 6 KP.
I mean, you know, Redragon picking up the lifeline again, it's definitely something I'm very focused on that to see if this pick is a meme or if it's, you know, really going to stick around in competitive, because it's been such a long time since she was meta, if ever, really. I mean, I guess I feel like Apex Comp wasn't even around when she was a good character back when she had fast heal, Vicky.
Throwing me way back. I honestly, I just feel like Redragon, I like how you highlighted that as we take a look at this 50-50. I'll hold that thought for right now because the 30-30 shots are blaring here. You lose over to the other side. just not only smoking himself out to block out vision, but so that way he could safely rotate to the rest of mine, holding these two different split angles here. The charged rifle is not the weapon that you want to drop in on your only weapon to have, because now they're down their conduit as the first pick.
Yeah, and we talked about that last time. It's really not the character you want to go down first. It's so important in these initial fights because often you have 2 cells, right? You drop with 2 cells, you might not find any, and you really are so reliant on her to, give you that radiant transfer to keep you healthy.
And they're so low, too. Having to slide behind the crate. They're healthy because their conduit is up is the difference here. Now he is literally 1 shot before mine gets set right back to the lobby by 202. It's also, once again, that fuse pick on these 50-50s. It's just such a strong pick if you know that it's inevitable and you know you're going to be landing on another team. But, Gino, I want to cycle back to that lifeline conversation that we were having with Redragon, because what they are taking advantage of is the fact of getting that power weapon by Circle 3 or Circle 2 closing in. And we saw them really take advantage of having the Kraber. I believe it was in Futsu's hands. So if they keep that up, this could be a completely different overall standings by the end of the day as we take a look at where the circle is going to be pulling towards Skyhook.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, okay, like just having a look at the circle, we've got that on the screen. Interesting to note, Element 6 not contesting in this particular game. You can see they've sort of taken more of that Skyhook East sort of situation, while LCDF will get a very primo spot in Trials, with the Forge also rotating very quickly there up to around the back of Trials. And then if we switch across to, the team we're saying, have just been really blasted in terms of their opportunity with rings pulled so far this season. The full English landing over in Overlook. Look, they did manage to convert in game 1 here this series, but once again, they are having to travel quite far.
Especially from that north side, they approach Skyhook from the north side. I've seen this final circle end either by the rocks closer to Countdown or by that one little lonely building on the north side of Trials. So a lot of these teams, especially the teams here by Trials, Made in Heaven, LCDF, GoNext, they're all going to be trying to fight either for that high ground spot or just trying to deny any of these teams from trying to pinch them here. It looks like they called them the Prowlers and they're escaping back onto the high ground saying it's none of their business. They don't want to get into a LCDF sandwich here.
It's a tricky situation to play here, honestly, in Trials, because you can try and sit down the bottom, and if you sit around the edge, you can see, they didn't even start off doing Trials as, oh wow, they're actually getting pushed here by Made in Heaven, going all the way in there with Tolkien on the core stick. Okay, interesting. But I was just gonna say, like, playing up top is good. Playing underneath, you can get dropped on, and eventually, if the ring pulls outside of Trials, which it has to, you do see some sort of situation where usually, someone's pushing through the blast doors or just dropping on you, and you have to be ready for that.
And I would prefer to be where GoNext is in terms of those blast doors, because you could just cycle and rotate through the back end of Trials rather than the Skyhook side of where Passion is, because this is the spot where you're going to be in everyone's line of sight that is leaving Countdown, heading towards Skyhook, and you're stuck literally in a corner because there's a team that is still inside Trials. They're trying to find an opportunity to push through the caustic barrels and the smoke. But if you approach here, you're still going to be in the line of sight of the teams like Forge, who have control over the small little house north of Trials.
No, I think that's, yeah, I think you're totally right there. The western side of Trials definitely a little easier to take control of. But Made in Heaven, they're going to just do what they can here with, wow. I mean, just that flag looks pretty flimsy to hide behind, so I'm not surprised they're getting knocked there.
By a little napkin, and it's been shaved off as 0-0 gets taken down. Made in Heaven now having to divert their attention from behind, because I believe that may be LCDF, who have capitalized and dropped right on top of them. 2 knocks for them, and only leaving Arctic as the last one alive for Made in Heaven before he gets sent back to the lobby with the rest of his squad.
Well, they have met their maker in the end, and so LCDF take control of the bottom. As we said, you don't really want to sit down in the middle of Trials there. Too many angles on the way up. But this is Omit and ANC Outplayed over at Harvester. Looks like they will actually make it out. Oh, maybe not all of them. No, I think maybe only one successfully took the evac. And yeah, they're going back to grab the other two here that looked like they did get knocked in the ring. And they have to be a little bit careful. Vex still coming up from Lava Siphon, actually. So a couple of teams still in the ring, Vicky.
That slow rotate. AURORA, though, playing more by the edge, looking at a team that they're trying to gatekeep right now, and with the weapon loadout that they got, the bow check, a sentinel, in the hands of Hardeki. They're taking the evac tower for now, trying to close in the distance, and they know it's 40% worse. Why? Because of that zip line that is set up on top of that balloon. So they are looking to chase after them, maybe get some revenge after the last game that we had seen beforehand. And they are not giving this up. Tries to send out that sentinel shot. It looks like there's some blood splatter, so he was literally one. They get the follow-up from the bow check, taking care of Zerafer. 40% worse now, down another teammate as they're looking to just keep rotating. Overlook does have a replicator if Mandy had not used it before. And 07 also engaging in this fight by these buildings on the south side here. Natsuki with just a Mozambique, but the gold shotgun barrel to make the magic happen. Disrupt the rounds in Amphi's hand. Looking to see if he can take a different angle. Outplayed do get eliminated in your feed as Omid get that final player out of the outskirts of Harvester. Trying to take it to the high ground here, but while they do take this fight over by the high ground of Mirage at 12, it's two reps with controller taking their time to rotate through staging, so they do have enough time to try to take this fight here. Gets the beam on the alternator, 30-30 shots, and while they wrap around in a sandwich, 202 get eliminated with 15 squads left.
And you saw the power of that perk coming through there. That was a really good demonstration of residual toxins, the level 3 upgrade for Caustic that, you know, you can see them through the Nox gas a little bit longer. And you can see the other player wasn't even in the Nox gas, right? But it was like you had that Digi-Threat lock-on to them. So, yeah, it's a strong perk at the moment. I know we had maybe like, I think it was north of 80% of people picking that in Apex, so I think it's probably pretty similar up here in EMEA as well.
It's all about that vision. You can even see 40% worse still with Mandy alive, trying to make the magic happen as he rotates as a solo. 2-1 controller about to meet up with Redragon while Omid is tailing behind on the south side from staging. 07 could get involved if they try to play on the edge from Countdown, but specifically want to highlight where that next circle is going to be pulling towards that north side that you could see Bambino hanging out by that rock slide. Sometimes I've seen the circle end up pulling by the fence line on the lot that is right north of Bambino here, so it's not a bad rotation point as long as you make sure your trials side is completely cleared out. And 2-1 controller, again, one of those teams that are taking their time with Redragons being by that tunnel side, are just trying to take advantage of that replicator before they make that rotate.
Let us catch them unaware.
Gonna do what you can with those. Looks like Jukes has picked up the bow check from that care package. I'm going to assume, you never know, might have been from a you know, a world drop there, but typically, you would say the least enviable of the 4 weapons that are currently available to grab out of that. The ring does pull even further over towards that Trials Mountain. In 40 seconds, we'll get another look probably at trying to work out which side of it does end up on. Oh, catching them on the crafter.
Served on the silver platter here. They know it's a solo and they know exactly who it is. Mandy being that Pathfinder entrepreneurs, they now take advantage of the replicator themselves. They're just going to let that solo go away for right now. See, AURORA is still on that north side if they can call him out. Vex is going to be right behind them. They actually may be able to scoop up from behind Redragon with this circle closing in, with 2-1 controller being still in the circle behind them by that choke point.
Wow, Vex.
Right here, actually.
I mean, you saw you had the care package ready there, so I don't know if that means that Vex has used their supply drop yet. Obviously, all 3 of them, you know, trying to pick up some quick med kits there, because obviously they're taking zone 3 damage now. It does start to tick away at you, but with Redragon just in front of them, can they chase that down? Maybe grab a kill? Is this time for Babylons to pop Beast of the Hunt? it looks like he's actually going to take it a little bit more chill. They can definitely go back down to the vault tunnel that goes through to Skyhook here. There are safer options, safer ways for Vex to navigate this game.
And I hear you call that out too, because he's also got the scan ready to go once you get through this choke, just in case if there's a team right here holding the edge of the circle, but they know it's completely clear. They're going to go for the safer rotate instead. They could restabilize here with the lifeline drone, so that way they don't have to use those med kits either. Limited med kits that they were working with, while the action still has not slowed down for Le Site de France on the bottom end of Trials here.
And it's going to stay an active zone, Vicky, because you kind of called it. It looks like we're pulling up towards that house, that the tiny little house to the north of Trials, which means part of that area will stay in for quite some time. Meanwhile, your TSM Phoenix are playing from a building not too far from there, but they're in a little bit of trouble.
Having to play for their life here, too. They have not been doing so well, but these PK shots do be hitting for Fraz here. Gets another knock at that. It's AURORA playing inside of this building, and as they scoop up right behind them, they do clean up that one last member now as AURORA take control over the roof side. Full English get eliminating your feed in 15th. AURORA have taken control over this building for now. They hear the bang ult being unleashed. Still trying to get the finisher, though, and on that last player trying to run away, E6 get eliminated, and so do 40% worse. Unfortunately, Mandy and that Pathfinder fridge hitbox is easily going to get secured.
Oh, TSM Phoenix here. Still in all sorts of trouble. And there we go. AURORA will actually finish them off. Just going to have to tank. No! Ooh! Damn, that was... I'm literally impressed by that, being able to, like, just sit on the lip there so you can shoot the fence. That's someone who's, yeah, they've been playing, you know, streamer building in Fragment, haven't they?
It's been so long here, and Amphi's looking for the opportunity to eat this Nox gas, maybe. She's looking for the opportunity. He sees that they're split up too much. Right through the smoke, though, and the disruptor rounds. They strike once again. They see one more left as they get another knock, and Vex get eliminated. I'm loving the way that 07 has been taking these fights, with Amphi being more so that anchor.
Yeah, definitely. 07 know how to play that one, no doubt about it. They're taking some shots there from cybercats, who are just ranging a little bit south because they're looking for their next move. Maybe they were, you know, not keen to go up against GoNext, who are north of them, so they were like, hey, maybe we can wrap around the south side, head up to Skyhook, just gauging their options at this point. This is AURORA trying to gatekeep Redragon and 2R1C. AURORA actually have a very good spot over here on the north side of the tracks.
That is to say, if they don't get griefed by Forge, that could take the high ground of the building by the tiny lot right where that circle's going. But the boat head! Oh, every shot! Make it count, 9 Impulse! Redragon, they get eliminated. They were unfortunately pinched with 2 rats with controller, but AURORA looking like Legolas out here with the bow check.
Oh, he just out here counting the orc kills, isn't he? That was pretty impressive there by 9 Impulse, but there's definitely still a few scalps left to be had. 2 rats, 1 controller are still to the east of them here. So AURORA can look for those kills as well, with 30 seconds left here to make that move inside the ring.
EMP coming out. 2 rats, 1 controller want to capitalize here as they fall from the sky. It is cybercats landing on top of them from the other side of Trials. That was the Hail Mary evac where Valkyrie Skyward dive here on the other side. As AURORA get landed on, they lose out on 9 Impulse. Nothing that Hardeki could really do here other than survive at 1 HP. He pops the shield bat, and UAIM tries to get some suppressed fire onto Forge that are not leaving that building. They are not giving up that space, but unfortunately for Hardeki, he doesn't have the suppressed fire to cross that distance.
Oh, guys, you have to feel so bad for AURORA in that situation. I mean, they've just stayed alive, but yeah, we've got more teams fighting inside here. Amit will take out LCDF, so they defend. That was the LCDF were playing inside Trials. They have to move out through the passageway there, but Omit will not let them pass if we're going to keep those Lota references going. Passion UA, they're still playing up the top there near the sniper bin on top of Trials, and it's Forge actually in the God spot holding the building next to where this zone finishes. But just quickly going back to that AURORA fight there, Vicky, I mean, I feel like these players had a year or so, you know, where things made sense. You know, Valkyrie wasn't in the game and you didn't have to worry about random things just falling from the sky and completely griefing your game. But AURORA, that's not the case anymore. We've got some Valks back in the lobby, and sometimes you just have to take it.
And the evac towers too, making themselves present for the teams that aren't running that Valk, right? That evac towers is something that you have to look for coming in from the sky. But while Omid sees that the circle's closing in the next 10 seconds, let's jump into a listening to see what their next moves are.
Crack team. Close. Can you chill a bit, it's fire. I'm just gonna I can't die. Okay, go to one dead. Chill top, carry top, dog dropping. Dropping. I need swap. I have no flash. Boka, we need to fight. Swing. Coming. Oh, what's an 100? What's a 100? One. Get him to crack. I cracked. Put the most. Made you. 100. No way. Fuck, I did 100. Fuck.
Oh, the Passion coming in. He just fried them with the Volt Genome, leaving him basically one shot.
Oh, can they even make it back? Oh, Artie dodges the tick of zone damage to stay alive. That was the... Oh, man, making that res work at just the very last moment there. But I don't think they're going to last long. It looks like 2R1CC. They smell some blood. They sense the weakness, and they're going to go in and try and finish off Passion UA here. With Sanya going down. There you go. Okay, 3 teams left alive. Forge have just been holding strong in that building. GoNext, they moved up. I think they were playing the tower on the western side of Trials here, and they have taken up residence in the RV. So now that is our 3 teams left alive. Triple blues, triple purples, and triple reds.
And the triple blues really highlights what happens when you play for that final circle positioning from the very beginning of the game. GoNext have been on that backside by the sniper tower when you leave Trials to go towards this small lot forever. And now they're rocking full blues for this final circle while Forge have high ground. We saw them use the bow check earlier on AURORA, the last one alive on AURORA here. And there's 2 different positionings, but which of these squads are going to have to move in first is the question. With the circle closing in next, right behind their backs, Forge can keep on to this high ground, and it may be pulling towards and giving the advantage to the team that have that rock side.
Yeah, I agree. The rock is looking pretty good. Okay, I guess it could come a lot down to, you know, the team comps we've got coming out of these players as well, right? With Haraka, you know, does he have the EMP available is a big question here. And then, of course, for Phoenix and Tolkien, do they have their gas grenades ready to go? You can see the placement of that pylon over there from LCDF. Will they be able to find another spot to try and eat one of those caustic ultimates? I'd say unlikely, but you never know.
Gonna have to see. I like how you talk about the win conditions here too, especially with double caustic from GoNext Forge. 2 reps with controller that could just immediately delete those barrels. See how they try to play this from Forge playing still on the high ground here, but the circle closing in, taking some of that damage, having to pop that shield cell here. Has that Nox grenade ready. None of these teams committing yet first.
I mean, maybe even the Bloodhounds here, Vicky, have, you know, which ultimate, level 3 upgrade have they gone for? If they go for Taste of Blood, all of a sudden you're getting those extra 25s when you get the Nox, as you see some incredible Arc Stars putting GoNext in a horrible position here.
Oh, but 2R1C, see the EMP go out, see that they're hiding inside that corner, try to close in the gap, sends the nade up into the sky, avoids the Arc Star here while they are able to find Bambino. GoNext get eliminated. Our final 2 squads as 2 rats, 1 controller in a field of Nox gas. Take it with the Prowler in hand and a heavy frag game at that. Missy just went crazy with 7 KP at the very end just by themselves.
Damn, 7 KP on the lifeline with 11 overall for the team. That's a pretty sick effort there from 2 Rats, 1 Control. I also liked how they played that final fight, Vicky, with Haraka coming out, almost like baiting for the team, right? It was like, you know, a lot of the value there for the crypto is popping that EMP. Once that's done, it's like, well, I don't know, what else are you going to do, right? He sits out there, takes a lot of the attention away, and then the other 2 move around and are able to finish off the fight. So I think definitely good juggling of aggro there by 2 Rats, 1 Controller to win our 3rd game.
And what was also amazing, aside from the timing on that EMP, the option coverage that we just saw from 2 Rats from Controller with the circle closing in, the EMP, and then the placement of nades, knowing that they had full blue evos because of the EMP too, giving them that intel if they didn't know beforehand, allowed them to know, all right, well, if we place these nades, they're going to be forced to try to wrap around the fence line. They see that I may be low, and then my teammates already have a nice distance away from me from behind where they could hold split positioning and then focus fire the moment that they reveal their face through the fence.
Yeah, I guess the other thing to note there is if you've got blues in the end game, you're not really expecting, as you said, that probably would have been a bit of a signal that they can take this team down. They're a little bit weaker, but you've also got to think that means they don't even have the second perk to work with. So they're not at full power yet. They don't have some of those very important upgrades that you get from the level 3 Evo.
Taking a look at our final results for match number 3, 2 Rats with Controller. They finished the game with not just the dub, but 11 KP. Forged that were inside those buildings from the very beginning, avoiding all the chaos over by Trials, finished in second with 6 KP to their name. Even looking all the way down, Passion UA still stands in the top 5 here with 6 KP, getting 4th place. We saw a lot of these teams, though, get this KP, getting out of that countdown through Trials and Skyhook's side of that final circle.
I mean, honestly, shout out to Forge for getting this 6 KP. When you have a spot that's that strong that you can literally sit in for 99% of the game, often you won't see them pick up that many KP because they really are just banking on playing that end zone. So actually, I think 6 is a reasonable conversion there.
It's great, and that's considering that Forge lands at countdown, so they got there immediately, avoiding a lot of that fight that we saw a lot of teams get that pinched in by Skyhook and Trials. On the second page, the teams that weren't so lucky, even though they found some KP, 202. 5 KP, but going down in 16th because of the third party that came in right afterwards. TSM Phoenix surviving a lot longer this time around, but once again, we're not able to clutch that fight against who I believe was Aurora inside of that building by Skyhook. Again, that's where we saw a lot of the teams fall for a circle pool like that. But in that second half, we still see the 50-50s, like mind that they are losing at the beginning of these games, Gino.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting I'm going to keep talking about it, maybe until the end of this split, Vicky, because it is a new phenomenon in Apex for Season 20, where we're just seeing those bottom 10 teams pick up barely any points. It's very much concentrated in the top 10. It's like if you can't make it through that first half of the lobby, you will rarely see any reward for it on the scoreboard.
What a crazy game 3 it's been so far. Gino, I'm going to send you off on a break right now. I'm going to bring back Rain Day and Dia to help me break down that last game on World's Edge, because the action don't stop here, guys.
No, it doesn't. Great job. Obviously, throughout that entire game, you and Gino made it so interesting. And I love the conversations we're getting into now. And even bringing up stuff like they're not at full power. That's not a thing that happened in Apex before. You actually don't get some of your skills maybe ever in this game, which is so phenomenal. But I want to leave it to you, Dia, because you've been watching and waiting as well. What were your takeaways, seeing that Lifeline and Mizey take the W in that final game?
It was a very cool way to manage that last ring, and a lot of it honestly had to do with not just like things like the crypto and the Lifeline, but the geography of that last zone. In a weird way, 2R1C's win condition became keep everyone else inside. And then we watched that work, and having to go through zone and deal with other teams. It was too much for everyone.
There's a lot. There was a lot going on. And, maybe we need some extra eyes. We've got 3 pairs up here. Let's bring in a 4th, because it's time for our halftime where we get to talk with the man himself. Hockeys joins us. What's up, Hockeys? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. What about you guys?
We're doing great. Really, really love having you on the show. Hockeys, obviously, man, it's been great to see just you've become and stayed a perennial figure in EMEA and across Apex. And before we jump into today's games and this Pro League, I want to say what that actually means. You were invited to something a lot of people saw but didn't have a chance to speak with you on broadcast about, the Apex Asia Festival, where you, TSM, a few other teams got a chance to be in Japan and experience that just a few weeks ago. Walk us through a little bit of how that was and any takeaways. What a beautiful country, you know, Japan is.
Obviously, it was my first time there. It was an amazing experience. Couldn't have asked for a better trip in general. I feel like the whole thing was pretty much perfect, like nothing I would change. The quality of the games were amazing. We got to try out Olympus. We got to play TDM. I got to team up with TSM. I got to meet a lot of the APAC pros. I got to meet a lot of the APAC fans, who are even more amazing. Like, the genuinity and the overall excitement from the fans have just been amazing. So the overall trip was amazing. I couldn't ask for something better.
I want to follow up from that, actually. From your experience and the quality of the games that you were able to experience there, too. I mean, that's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity to also play against a lot of those teams that you may not be able to play off against unless it's on LAN or whatever. And now being able to get that experience, you guys are fired up to do your best here in EMEA to make it to LAN yourself. You guys have been amazing, currently sitting in number 5 in the overall standings. How has Season 20 treated you after taking that experience over there in Japan and now bringing it into your own gameplay with the changes that the new season has brought?
I think we got to learn a lot of good things in Japan. Like, obviously, games in LAN are a little bit different than games online. So we got to try. We got a little bit of first-hand experience of what the next LAN is going to be like. However, we didn't get to do too much like scrims or practice. So our new character development have been a little bit slow started. But I'm feeling confident overall, and I'm slowly enjoying the meta for sure.
Now, as much as I enjoyed watching it, I'm here to talk to you about the games that are happening today. So let's take a look at some of the final circles, because we've got 3 very different ones that I want to get a pro player's perspective on. The first time, we ended up going over towards Stacks, where the fight from Dome actually ended up being one of the most impactful things for Full English.
Yeah, I mean, usually for these types of zones, Stacks is very, very congested, and whoever clears the side of Dome kind of wins for free and just watches everybody else die. So definitely want to prioritize that rotate and not be on the congested side where there's like 7 teams collapsing in one area.
You know, I noticed that the compositions that you're running this season, at least so far, still have Horizon in them. And that's, I think, on World's Edge, you guys are running Horizon. Do you think that having a pick like that actually changes the way that a zone like this one plays out?
I think Horizon in general allows you for more versatility in terms of like what types of fights you want to take. Like, she's the only character in the game that can actually fight upwards, like to take over high grounds, to dodge aerial effects on the ground, like bang ulti, grenades, caustic ulti. Like, she's the only character that can actually do that, so she does bring a lot of value for sure.
I mean, certainly in a situation like this, actually, of Game 2, you would have seen that verticality be really useful for everyone but Redragon. This was an awkward position because Redragon didn't look like they were actually in a game-winning spot, but everybody focused them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Redragon got picked. Kazakh goes down to the Sentinel of Maxshave, so a little bit unfortunate there. If they all stayed alive, I think they could have pressured it a little bit better, but now instead they allowed everybody to fight high ground, which made the win from low ground much more free.
Yeah, this was a really funny game to watch play out as well, because that fight turns into another, which turns into another, and it is difficult, especially in end games, to navigate when you're committing too hard. At what point do you just decide, well, let's just play for a second?
I think it's at the point where you realize that you have no other option and you just play for the points, right? Like, getting 3 KP and a second place is the same amount of points as getting 3 KP and a win, so you gotta like look at the maths and see what's more doable.
Now, furthering on that, this one was a really odd zone. I mentioned this earlier on desk as being a situation where 2R1C almost just wanted to keep everyone inside. If anything, Forge likely has more autonomy here, but with Caustic and Bloodhound, can you actually make your way out of this building and challenge 2R1C safely?
You definitely can. I think both the truck team and the building team here was very, very passive. In these types of zones, you definitely want to start doing something before the zone is on top of you so that you have more space to work with. Because if you're tanking the zone while fighting, then you're at a like number disadvantage from the start. So you gotta recognize when's your time to leave the building and when's your time to actually start to fight and when's the time to save space. Because coming out of zone with 2 ticks of gas, you're at the 50 HP disadvantage. It's very hard to win a fight.
It did basically what Caustic Gas did in the end game, and that was against a lifeline too. At the end of all of that, our World's Edge does get wrapped up, but with teams like Passion UA and Redragon in the lead, I want to get your read on Redragon today. They haven't actually won a game, but they are so close to the top of the leaderboard.
They're looking really strong today. They've obviously had a rough start. I think they're in the bottom 20s, so it would be good for them to actually like get a chance at the finals at least.
You know, Hockeys, we have 3 done, 3 more to go. Passion UA currently sitting on top. We love the breakdown, but now it's time to kind of look at this and maybe give some predictions. We only have a few more match days as well. What team is standing out to you, either making a move or that you feel over these next 3 desperately has to start doing something?
I feel like in EMEA, it's a toss-up at the moment. It's only the top 3 right now is pretty much somewhat safe. So I feel like anyone between top 4 to top 17 can make LAN at this point, and it's going to be a fiesta and a bloodbath.
Well, you know, I think that's a great spot to be. Makes things interesting for us, at least. Maybe not as a player unless you're in that top 3, but it certainly means there is a chance. Hockeys, continue to stay consistent. You guys have been doing great this season, and thanks so much for joining us on this halftime recap.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hockeys from Alliance. I mean, you think of EMEA, you think of top teams, whether the rosters change, they had to say goodbye to Yuki. Still, Alliance and Hockeys under his leadership, always a threat to anyone in their lobby. But you know what's not a threat? This is a guarantee. If you are watching Apex Legends over these next few days, you are going to get a holo spray just by watching for an hour. That's right, our gift to you, and it works on any of the Apex streams that you'll be watching. So here we'll have a featured Fuse holo spray. Look at this, fellas. And also kicking off March 12th to 26th, there'll be a Rampart 1. As you can see, it moves on to Maggie and Loba and Valkyrie. So stay tuned, just watch some Apex. Good things are coming your way all season long. All right, that's it for the halftime recap, which means we got more gameplay coming right up. We switched maps though and head to Storm Point. And you know what, casters, I think it's time to take it away.
Always thank you, Rain Day. Dia, it is time for Storm Point madness. We're no longer back in our hometown of World's Edge, where a lot of these teams may find their comfort zone. Now we are transitioning into Storm Point, where we sometimes see some compositional swaps. The Cossack has kind of been a mainstay here in EMEA, but I'm wondering if things have changed for some of the teams that we've been watching so far. The likes of Redragon coming out, Passion, we just saw in that last circle between 2 rats and controller. Now as we dive into our game number 4.
Yeah, and we've already seen so much experimentation on World's Edge. In a weird way, with the way that these endgame circles play out, getting to them has become so much more important, and we're seeing a lot more Valkyrie than we did pre-season 20, especially if you're going to the south side of the map like Echo HQ, Devastated Coast, where we've seen a lot of focus, or even places like Barometer. Having Valk to come from Cascade, Wall, Zeus, Lightning Rod is incredibly powerful.
You go the literal mile with that skyward dive, especially with that first perk that gives you a higher apex once you start flying through the sky. I remember those Echo HQ final circles too for match day 3. There were so many of those southern circles, and then we get to take a look at our POIs for the day, because the teams that we had on our site, Dia, were teams that needed to perform, and they just so happen to also be part of some of these 50-50s that we're witnessing on Storm Point, specifically Passion versus Forge over by Cascade Falls.
Yeah, this whole center top area of the map is so interesting to watch because, as you say, Passion, Forge, really decisive for what comes out, and Forge especially have predicted zones immaculately today. But just off to the north, Redragon versus Made in Heaven. Redragon, who have totally turned around the story for what it means to play on this roster during the second matchup of these groups. now get the chance to influence the top half of the map, but they have to make it through Made in Heaven first, which is not an easy task. Made in Heaven have terrified me this season.
Yeah, it's actually crazy to also see how Redragon's been doing today with a complete turnaround of their performance from earlier on in the split. It's that comeback story that we're all waiting to see if it could really play out now that we made that transition from World's Edge and their success into Stormpoint, to see if they can continue that. As we take a look at some of the different compositional swaps, I'm looking at 202 if they're sticking with the Seer, something that we've seen before last week play out. 2 Rats with controllers still sticking to what works for them, and that lifeline. Same thing could be said for 40% worse. With Mandy being on that Pathfinder, doesn't matter how big that hurt box is. It doesn't matter if he's the size of a fridge. Mandy is still out here trying to make magic happen with the Path.
You know what's interesting is seeing Seer picked up. This time, Mizcam actually swaps out Bloodhound for Seer on Stormpoint, so a lot more ability to shut down your opponents with lessened scans. All of these different legend picks getting mixed up as we move on to Stormpoint reminds me of a quote from a wise man that I heard once, Vicky. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, because you cannot predict what is about to happen in these next 3 games.
That's how you grow at the end of the day, Dia. You can't be comfortable if you feel like there's no more room to grow. And it's time to see that play out here for so many of the 50-50s that we're going to witness, whether it be in Zeus Station Wall or even Cascade Falls. Mitt is landing right here. This is also the same type of POI that we were expecting full English, and they actually are on the low ground, immediately taking the fight, not wasting any time or taking different split angles.
Somehow, some way, Horizon still isn't down. Full English are really making this zip up work for them. And even through the following conduit heals, they almost managed to clinch the fight. Omit's angle's just a bit too powerful. But when you fight that early, you do know that you're walking into a bit of a 50-50, a bit of a situation that you really can't control.
The last with the Sentinel shots, though? That came in clutch for that fight. It's so quickly done here for Omit. And talking about some of these northern circles, Dia, we're taking a trip over to that north side, may even pull towards the outskirts of that command center northern building closer to wall in between both of those POIs. We're gonna have to see, because Made in Heaven also coming out of that POI from that 50-50, it looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting actually seeing that Made in Heaven have been able to hold on to wall, and Redragon prioritizing the performance that they've already had today, one that, as we said, is unexpected, perhaps even for them, have chosen to make another move and chosen to be uncomfortable playing out of Devastated Coast. This is going to completely change their macro, but it saves them from the gamble of whether they make it out alive, manage to get points or not. This way, at least it's more likely they get placement points.
Right, E6 can't have everything. Devastated Coach and Launchpad here. That means that Red Dragons are going to be right behind E6 on this very similar rotate as we take a look at Cenote Cave and Aurora, who, talking about the difference between World's Edge into Stormpoint. Stormpoint provides more of an opportunity to boost those Evo shields with the flyers that you could shoot down, the spider caves as well next to Cenote Cave, aside from the Evo harvesters that you would find around the map.
And especially when you're playing on the edge like a team like Aurora is, you've got the chance for not only all of this PvE, but to make use of multiple POIs, Evo Harvesters. A squad like Passion does not have it that easy. Good smoke from Fuda, but with 0-0 on 50 HP, who's to say you even make it up this hill alive? Somehow 0-0 does it. And while I might not be comfortable in this spot, at least you can take a second to heal.
0-0 or one shot or nothing here. Getting away too from the pinch position that they were put in between cybercats on the other side. Ranches taking some of that damage. Just backing away here. They were able to also claim that Evo Harvester to their back, so now they got that first round of perks too, entering into the fight. Nemesis in hand as well as the car here for Ranches, but it looks like they do want to prioritize that rotation instead of being caught out on the edge of the circle where they were looking at 2 Rats 1 controller that have taken over Pylon.
What we should be seeing from cybercats is a Valgolt to go over Pylon, because dipping down into the low ground, even with bank smotes, is going to be extraordinarily punishing. So you're either waiting for 2R1C to leave, or you're Valking over them, but you cannot engage them by sliding all the way down when you see them in the center. Fortunately enough, to our 1C are starting to move on, prioritizing their own zone rotates. So instead of looking for KP, still trying to play out into the later game. It'll mean good things for a team like cybercats and all the other teams that approach from the south. Even squads like Passion, well, Made in Heaven are definitely set up for the end game.
Talking about where that circle is going to be pulling towards, maybe that building on the high ground of the zip line. They're playing on the outskirts of that. Made in Heaven having to also look behind them with Ome. 07 fighting inside of Spider Cave, inside of that low ground spot. Who the team is right in front of them yeets out that Nox gas here. 07 trying to close in the gap. Maybe not going as far as they wanted with that Nox gas, but they are putting in the pressure against a team that they are chasing right behind. Having to avoid that nade for right now. He does avoid it, and it's because they're correct that they want to overextend. But look who's waiting for them on the outside. It's Willem with the scan. Beast of the Hunt ready, but they're not going to be moving from there. It's Forge that get eliminated as they get sandwiched between the two teams.
And ANC Outplayed just watched this happen. They're under no pressure to actually move up onto the high ground, as this spot that we saw Made in Heaven prioritize all the way to the north of Even Wall, is a spot that we haven't actually seen an end zone close in EMEA just yet. It's much more likely, given the historical data that we have, that it pulls over towards ANC Outplayed, the squad that they're currently gatekeeping, Passion UA.
And beaming here, and he actually manages to get away, pops the shield back, but checks, avoids the creeping barrage, and finds Passion UA eliminated. Outplayed. They come out on top from that fight, and GoNext, Speedy Racer managing to get away from that chaos and is actually just prioritizing their rotate after having the ring console, gets to the replicator at the same time, get anything extra that they may need for this before they probably rotate from the north side of the wall where we saw earlier on Omit and Made in Heaven.
GoNext are so incredibly close to their next Evo as well. A little bit of raucous driving will stall them out in wall, but 07 are not slowing down one bit, with Mind having just one player left. Sanka can do very little, especially when you're not getting any health back on an ult. You're not getting any double tack skin. You've got no health, no perks, and now no chance to collect points in this game. 07 with 6 kills so far. Have an incredible start.
Just been delivered in their open hands as everyone's been trying to rotate through this Spider Cave side on that low ground neighboring command center here. They just have to make sure that they cover each opening of the cave spots here. We know that Outplayed's holding one. 202 is holding the high ground side, so they don't have to worry about them unless they just drop down and try to contest them from that side here too. And we know that E6, as you can see right here, are rotating from Lightning Rod, but GoNext are holding that incline side, looking at Vex on the high ground, trying to make sure that they're not going to get pinched here, but it's a very easy spot for GoNext to get hit from Made in Heaven on the other side as they're holding the survey beacon.
Especially if 07 want to take this fight. There is a trade-off. GoNext are sat in a better position for the zone, one where they're less likely to be sandwiched later, but at the same time, 07 have the chance to pick up so many more kills as they already have. Those two teams and their interaction will likely determine the fate of many others, perhaps even squads like LCDF, who, while they're fighting Passion now, will still have to worry about their rotate to the north.
See France finding themselves in this engagement here on that slight low ground, still playing on the edge of this circle. Having to be careful if there's a potential third party that could wrap around here, as Outplayed still have that high ground. Psychov loses out on his shield. Kiner having to restabilize. He pops that shield back for now, but yep, that's that third party coming in from the other side. Having to watch out. Outplayed is shooting at them from a distance. Passion getting involved here, dropping down, gets the beam. It's not just the Prowler, but the Hemlock in hand with the hip fire as Lecite Defense get cleaned up and OP make their way to get invited to the party.
Can ANC Outplayed actually outplay, though? Because they are coming in off the back of a reset, a team that should be fully ready for them, and getting shot from above doesn't do them any favors. ANC Outplayed get outplayed, outflanked, outmanned now, and Willem does a lot of work picking up a singular kill, but walking right into caustic gas, not helping him either. ANC Outplayed go down for their greed.
No outplaying here. If anything, that was all henchmen creeping up, colliding from the back opening of the building and getting that beam, getting 2 knocks and a lovely follow from the rest of his team. More KP on the board. The Passion now as we take a look at 2 Rats, 1 controller. Having the high ground here by Stormcatcher. believe this is Redragons that are playing off the low ground with 14 squads still left in the middle of their rotate. But I do want to highlight, Missy is having such an amazing day so far.
Has certainly been playing really well, and with Lifeline, having red weapons, gonna help a lot. This additional power that you've got with Crypto and the chance to EMP Redragon should they stay here, take the fight, is gonna ultimately put 2R1C in a much better position. One so powerful that Redragon instead should likely tank more zone damage for their rotate, moving down to the south, and now likely having the opportunity to move all the way through Cascade and into the other side of Command Center.
What's going on the higher ground over here by Command Center? It is TSM Phoenix that have the height above the zip lines. They hear footsteps. It's cybercats playing on the low ground, but there's a lot of space in Command Center for even 3 to 4 teams to coexist here. So with 2 Rats 1 controller, with their quick rotate that we saw before, they actually might find themselves right in between TSM Phoenix and cybercats.
I really like the way TSM Phoenix are playing this as well. It may look a bit awkward just gatekeeping the zip lines in Command Center, but if you think critically about the ring, it's a much better position for them to prioritize. Nobody should be rotating in behind, because if anything, just by holding on to high ground, you've got an easy walk-in towards the area immediately surrounding Zeus Station and the future rings, with plenty of flexibility on things like Valk ults, evac towers as well. You got to imagine it's going to go well for them, where cybercats will have to face off against teams like Redragon, who opted into this longer rotate to not have to deal with 2R1C.
I like you talk about the potential rotates there too, especially since that circle is pulling all the way to the north side by where that survey beacon has been next to Made in Heaven, who have not left from that spot while still trading with Omit. We have to see how that's been going down here as we take a look at Redragon, looking right by the spiders. A team that may be trying to gatekeep them from Command Center, but no teams showing their face yet through the bunker doors, so they may be able to just rotate right around there and try to prioritize where that circle is going to be pulling.
Through the smokes, not even going too aggressive yet, still playing off of the low ground. Impulse trades some damage, but can't afford to commit too hard, because now the aces revealed. Aurora are being shot in the back. Cybercats are walking up behind them, and this is why Aurora waited. This is why they played patient, because they knew that the only squad to deal with was not going to be the one that lied just above them.
And Hardeki had gotten hit hard for the entry frag opportunity right there from cybercats, but they don't like the distance that they have to cross while also giving their backs to the high ground, allowing another team to have a free opportunity to rotate, since still that cave side that we saw 07 fighting in is in that circle right now, and they don't want to give up that time for other teams like the one that we saw rotating outside of Command Center. Redragon creeps up right behind cybercats.
So do you fight Aurora, the kings of EMEA this split, or do you fight Redragon on the other side? Those are the unfortunate decisions that you're dealing with coming out of Wall, where a team like Omit just gets to chill here given their early position. Lufka should be able to heal up with the nice rock cover that they've got, and Omit share space with Made in Heaven. Neither one really envious of the other. Omit cannot push up to Made in Heaven, nor would they want to with the zip line, and Made in Heaven likewise much prefer their spot in zone.
Meanwhile, cybercats from the skies landing with some natural cover by the rock slide. Getting shot at by three different teams. They know that Aurora is still behind them on top of those buildings by Wall. But with the circle closing in, Aurora is going to have to move closer by that fence line that exits out of Wall, where Redragon is situated in too.
Cybercats actually may be able to hold on to this spot. It is a little late for Omit to commit to the low ground. Omit, commit. Today I learned. Meanwhile, though, the south end of the zone still going to be really where we're focusing on. TSM Phoenix fighting 07 right now, even as Kyrie loses all upper HP, gets nothing done in the meantime, and Frass gets cooking, but doesn't turn the heat up high enough. TSM Phoenix go down, having done maybe 20 damage in that engagement.
Oh, can't be missing those wingman shots, especially when you pop Beast of the Hunt and you're forced to try to frag out. By the way, Hardeki, talking about fragging out, has been griefing with this Kraber in the kill feed. Redragon get eliminated. Passion looking to restabilize and then re-engage on this fight. 40% worse get eliminated in your feed with 10 squads left. And is that a lifeline? Rez that I hear in the distance. Looks like no gold knockdown here. Let's jump into a listening with Passion as they're just left with Henchman, who's up and alive, healthy.
Push, you can push, the team's pushing.
Yeah, I'm on the back.
The team's pushing up. You need to wipe.
Can we leave?
No, they're on your head. I think they're on your head.
It's fine, just run up.
Okay, right.
We're getting looked up from our height, though. We need to go back in that spot we're in, bro. We're getting looked up.
If this team left, that's free. We need to keep rotating.
They're there.
Okay.
I have no cells, one back.
They're still here.
We need to evac.
They're also here.
I'm dropping
no flash match. I have no heals at all. No heals at all.
Dropping your medkit.
They're also here, okay?
They're gonna ape us.
They're walking up.
Okay, we need to go then. We're gonna get fucked. We don't need to fight. They're gonna pick. Or maybe you run. I don't know.
I'm just
stuck in a pinch, but managing to pull off the medkit. Do they fully commit to Aurora now pushing up the hill while they themselves are pinched to the team shooting at them from the left side? It is cybercats pinching Passion who are taking the evac. Where are you gonna go? You're just sitting ducks. Passion get eliminated off the evac.
And they ultimately just completely unable to finish off a Lifeline squad. This is exactly the situation you dream of when you lock in Lifeline. And just res over and over, giving Aurora not only another chance at life, but 2 KP to go with it. They're gonna walk up the hill and now get to fight teams like GoNext and 07, whose clash we have been waiting for since Zone 2.
It's just from this angle, from where the circle is, they are cleaning up the squad's forced to exit out of that tunnel spider side. 07 losing out on 2, leaving only 1 alive before they meet their fate versus GoNext and cybercats. Aurora still trying to clean up what they can. Hardeki gets pinged, though Havoc is ringing through everyone's ears. And when you got a controller in your hand, it comes even more in clutch. Aurora get eliminated, and no turbocharge necessary from E6.
Aurora might be the kings of EMEA this split, but Swinny has held that crown for a long time and is not going to give it up this game. 7 squads left in E6. Get aggressive. Cracked even making use of the horizon to get even more high ground, take unorthodox angles, and finish off yet another team. Omit are right in their crosshairs as well. This is an easy commitment down onto a duo for Element 6. Swinny does get a decent amount of damage in, and it is taking a while to push through Conduit ult, but no amount of time is going to save you. Not when E6 have an isolated 3v2.
That speedrun really coming in for them, and they're able to get a free reset while Vex and 2R1C are fighting on each ends of that low ground building. Vex now trying to wrap around here while Made in Heaven are looking pretty and not trying to overcommit. They're still playing on the outskirts of where the circle is pushing.
And much like Genome pointed out last game on World's Edge, in this case, we've got a squad, Made in Heaven, who are still on triple blues, who haven't hit their last Evo power spike. Now, you have to imagine that they're close, given the semi-active position they played. There's got to be some damage here, but without those last perks, can you really close out a game at the highest level?
Especially if the other teams around them get whiff of the blue Evo shields that they're rocking here, but in this position, holding their backs to the edge of that circle may save them because none of these teams want to overextend. The EMP will definitely give that team that information that they need if they still are on those blue Evo shields, and that's going to be 2 Rats with controller that have not changed their comp. They delete the drone, they move forward, they see the black hole, and CJ gets immediately taken down.
E6 got a lot of space off of Black Hole, though. Can they make it work with the Wingman? Slab does do a lot of damage, but ultimately getting double beamed at the end does put them down. Vex survive on high ground and can look at 2R1C just below, but are going to play for the win. Vex are committing on Made in Heaven. They do not want to fight for the low ground. They want first place, and this may open things up for 2R1C to come in third party and take it away from both.
2 lifelines for this final circle for our last 3 remaining teams. And Made in Heaven with blue Evos being one of the only squads out here, aside from the other teams in the lobby, still rocking the horizon right now. But 2R1C have been fragging out. They got double red Evos. Vex playing on the outskirts. The Beast of the Hunt had already been popped before. And the Kraber, Fakkel's hand, just trying to take a different angle. The evac towers have been called in to try to take height.
Vex don't want to deal with 2R1C. This evac tower is honestly just something they've got to make sure doesn't get 2R1C pushing up to them. A Kraber is the perfect thing to guard an angle with, but Vex are playing so small right now. It's like they don't even want to challenge Made in Heaven, and when we have the full information of the shield situation on the other side, I'd like to see Vex playing a little bit more active.
Oh, the bait with the Moby right there too. Taking a little bit of height. I think if he gets on the lip by the vent.
If they can't climb this whole game changes. If 2R1C can't actually do anything from the low ground, then suddenly they have to move on Vex, which is a very different situation. In fact, they're already looking to do it, having decided they can't make the climb. This opens things up for Made in Heaven. This completely erases what we said about Blue Shields. If two other squads are fighting, committing hard onto each other, Made in Heaven should be able to walk in.
Yeah, they don't even need to care about the different Evo advantage, but Clemmy understanding that has to look on the other side. The smoke nades have been called in from both angles, while Vex are keeping an eye from their 6 and in front of them, where 2R1C are trying to contest them to wrap around the building. Only 2 Kraber shots left. Oh! The hipfire shots come in, but the wingman shots ring out and are able to still get another knock. He can't climb from that angle. Made in Heaven have the W presented to them on a silver platter, but they drop down. They give up height, and they're taking the ring damage.
No way, right? Surely no way that this goes wrong. Made in Heaven do clinch the win, but man, did it look doubtful for a long time. They finished this game, Vicky, on triple blues. This is all Apex dynamics, because at the end, they barely even had to have... It could have had 3 P2020s and still won this game.
I was a little scared when I saw 2 members of Made in Heaven drop down from the height into the final circle. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But all right, one of them still held onto the high ground Synthetic that managed to close out the game, shoot and clean up any KP that they could at least manage to obtain. Because since they do land in wall and they did go for that early rotate, like we were talking about why they had blue Evos, they also denied themselves the opportunity to get the KP that they needed. So although they do get the dub, I believe they finished with at least 2 KP by the end of that game.
Yeah, this should still look like a very good game for all 3 squads in our final circle. And it was a really interesting end game to watch play out, because this came down to everyone else, especially Made in Heaven, gambling on what resources 2R1C had available. You have an evac, you have a Horizon, you have a Valk, you have any form of verticality, and suddenly we're not getting the end game that we did. But things like Lifeline Crypto just can't climb walls like, say, a Revenant can, and it doesn't give you the option to do anything but commit this really difficult fight onto Vex. Fascinating endgame to watch played out. Well played and well prioritized by Made in Heaven, whose zone prediction really is the thing that got them this far.
Especially in a zone like that where it is absolute chaos for the teams to have to play out into the open field by that incline that leads you up the hill from the zip line. So much that happened at the very end. Even 07 getting so much KP while all their teams were trying to contest them. Taking a look at the overall results after match number 4, Made in Heaven do indeed take the dub with 2 KP. 2 Rats with Controller with 4 KP, but E6 omit 7 KP at each piece, while 07 managed to get 10 KP. Passion, this entire top 10 for this game was just entirely kill heavy.
It really was, and the mid game culled a lot of teams because of that disparity between high and low ground. Teams like AURORA and Passion did both have to fight off. As those are our cutoff of the top 10, I want to take a look at the bottom, because this is what really stands out to me. Redragon. I guess they are in red, actually, so it's perfectly highlighted. In 12th place right now with only 1 point. For most teams, I wouldn't even bother pointing it out, because it's the reality of the situation. What has got to hurt here is that the zone pulled right next to the POI that they gave up to start the match. This is hurting Redragon, because they started the day so strong and now have got to watch a game fall away from them that was only 150-50 separated from what could have been their win.
In a day like today, when, once again, time is of the essence and they need to get as much points as possible since they're on the bottom 20 end of the overall standings for EMEA, this game made a difference here for them. And another game here for Made in Heaven to take the dub after calling out where that final circle was going to be pulling. You can see they didn't do too much damage because, once again, they just had to hold that position from the very beginning of the game. 2 Rats, 1 Controller on their rotate, though, are able to get over 2,800 damage. Vex right behind them, though. Uchaku popping off, though, with 4 KP here.
You know, looking at just their composition, it's funny because while this comp may not have verticality, they do have the ability to really make a fight feel unfair. You can't see, you have no shields, and when you knock us, it doesn't matter. The 2R1C are all about making things as unfair as possible, and it's really paying off, as after 4 games of today, our first one on Stormpoint, they're in the lead by quite a bit.
This is so close to you. Look at this top 10 already. AURORA even being at 24 points and seeing the difference between them being in 10th and 2 Rats 1 Controller being in first with 45. It's still Passion right behind him. 2-point difference tied alongside Omit. Redragon that we saw in first originally, a point difference from them between 4th and 3rd place. Looking even at 07 that just had a pop-off game. Yeah, they didn't get the placement that they wanted, but they definitely got that KP. And then looking on the second page, teams like E6 that Season 20 really hasn't been doing them justice, Dia.
No, it hasn't, and I did appreciate seeing a really good call, a really good third party from E6. While it may not be their season so far, they are already pushing themselves up to close to where they ended our previous match day AMC, because they ended in, I believe it was, I'm just going to check, they ended in 11th last time. And right now, sitting at 12th, just 1 or 2 more good games could net them an ultimate improvement on their placement in this matchup.
And we got 2 more games to go, guys. On the other side of this break, we got some more ALGS action for match number 5 coming to you soon. Welcome back, everyone. Take a little short break and bringing Genome back after the action that we saw unfold on Stormpoint for match number 4. We got game number 5, one of my favorite games coming soon, Genome. But it's been a good time so far to see how a lot of these teams have been taking advantage of not just their POIs and their rotation point, but literally sitting pretty on where these final circles have been pulling.
Yeah, I mean, that spot that Made in Heaven had there was, yeah, I mean, the spot was Made in Heaven, right? Like, you can't get any better than that. It's happened a couple of times so far this series where it feels like the teams that have taken it out haven't had to work that hard, frankly. I mean, yeah, like, you're taking it out with triple blues, like, yeah, it's just, it's a walk in the park for these guys.
It has been. And you know what hasn't been so easy, though? Our teams competing in the Challenger Circuit. I want to give a shout out to our Challenger Circuit 2 winners in the EMEA region, Trojan, Pot, and Calm. Legends like Taskmaster, Prester competing out here, coming out on top is always nice to see. And if you guys are taking a look at the Challenger Circuit and think, hey, You could do better? Well, guess what? You could register your team right now to compete in the ALGS by competing in the Challenger Circuit number 3 that partakes March 23rd through the 25th. Don't forget that registration closes March 20th, and then, of course, Challenger Circuit number 4 that happens April 6th. Hey, my birthday, through the 8th. So make sure you try to get those dubs there. Registration does open on March 11th for that 4th Challenger Circuit. Oh,
fun stuff there. And wow, okay, all right, straight into the action by the looks of it. Yep, that's the contest up at Zeus Station with full English going fully at it here with Amit.
Can't waste any time here, Genome. Full English with the Horizon Gravity Lift, just trying to take height. They're not the only ones that have height here over Amit. Just trying to creep and look over to the side. They have no idea where Noises is, though, off this little lip here.
Yeah, a little bit of a rap play here from Noises, hoping to catch someone off guard. You can see only 2 clips of ammo from most of these people here. A single stack. And a gun is all they had time to pick up before trying to take the height. But the scan comes out. So, rap play no longer in play because they know exactly where the other team is.
Oh, and Full English need this here. Amit back away. The convoy coming in clutch, but look behind Lufka. The follow-up is incredible with the Devo. Dropping down with the Mastiff. Gets a second knock, only leaving Surdell alive.
The fadeaway shot with the Mastiff. But is giving up high ground really the answer here? So Dale, you can see, does he have time to get the res off? Is it just the bait? His teammates kind of scouting over the edge of that lip, but in the end, they'll go down just to give Dell a little bit of extra ammo and a shield core swap.
Oh, this is crazy. The gravity lift, though, to try to chase down on Surdell. 2v1 here. Light falls low. Surdell gets the knock. Blast here has some extra health, but the triple take. Full English get eliminated. Surdell cannot make magic happen.
Oh, it looked like he was getting close there, didn't it? Just trying to scope in with those last couple of triple take shots is enough to take it out. But with that contest over and done with, we divert our attention here to the map and where the circle will be going for our game 5 here on the latter half of this series in EMEA. As we can see, it's going towards what has come to be known as Ferrari, of course, where the Trident starts off. It used to be the scene of, you know, the IMC Armory. Now lying defunct to the east of Northpad. And it seems like the circle very much will be shifting over there. It's going towards those rocks as well at the top, Vicky. And if we do see it pull all the way up there, they definitely are positions that you need to keep your eye on. As playing out in the sea, behind those rocks, you get very good vision of people coming towards you, and it's quite hard to push into that area.
Yeah, we've seen a very similar circle back in NA last week alone, actually, and seeing the teams that had the advantage were the teams that were able to take control over the tunnels, exiting out of Northpad. And you can see other squads like 07 not wasting any time, wanting to go into the DDC buildings right here, the circle buildings, but having to watch their backs, getting shot by Forge that have control over the armory in the middle of that rotate.
So 07 fly straight into one of the oranges here. Of course, there's 3 of them, as you can see. Currently only 1 occupied. We've got 202 and Forge nearby. 202. I think they've just flown in. We've got some Trident rotates coming out. This is GoNext on the far west side of the map, who are going to try and roll in and under checkpoint, actually. Of course, this will get them, I think, maybe even 2 Evo Harvesters on the way.
Next is zooming around down Beast, passing one of the teams that are still over there. Just trying to take priority over the edge of where that circle is going to be pulling, because it is a bloodbath for the squads that have to exit out of Cascade through those choke points that then lead you into the open by the south side of the armory. So a lot of teams...
We just... sorry, I was just going to say, we saw a hint there of 202, and one of the things I noticed in Game 4, Vicky, was that we didn't have any Watsons, right? I tend to think that Watson is quite a strong pick over here on Storm Point, where there's a lot of open area, and you can cut that off with her fences. We've now seen a switch over from 202 to playing a rather unusual composition here of Watson, Valkyrie, Seer.
I'm so glad you bring that up, because that was something else I noticed too. With the lack of Watson in the lobby, considering the fact that we see an upcharge of Caustic, especially on World's Edge, and we still see it happen on Stormpoint, it's interesting too, especially with the perks that Watson could rock, you know, the falling stars out here that you can take advantage of getting those arc stars. You manage to get the zap off the gen to make sure those Caustic nades are not a problem, even with the barrels too. But that isn't a present, and in a circle like this, it could really come in clutch for teams like 202 since they're already set up in that northern position. As we take a look at 2 Rats, 1 Controller, looking at a team by that choke exiting out of Barometer here. I believe that's Passion that's calling in an evac tower as they make their rotate out of Barometer.
Yeah, gonna try and get over the top of them here. Hopefully don't get taken out of the sky by Passion. Looks like they're okay for the moment. 40% worse, always in some sort of chaos in this series, it seems like, and unfortunately taking the first knock.
Oh no, E6 able to have that advantage, and Mandy has the positional advantage here on this height. They were called out right next to the Evil Harvester too, but misses out on that Sentinel shot, having to navigate away right alongside Shiv. They're just gonna allow E6 to take that knock, get that extra KP, and then reposition themselves up on the high ground.
Well, it seems like he's trying to do his best Monsoon cosplay today, picking up the Sentinel all the time here, but unfortunately, look, he's not hitting those highlight reels like Mon was last week. Sure, it's amped up right now, but with Zerafar in his death box, right, as we see this, 40% worse have to figure out how they move through the next stage of the game. Obviously, they're not running a conduit here or a lifeline, so no support legend. That means they can just afford to give this up and try and craft the banner later. If they want it, they have to go and get it.
I don't see E6 trying to get out of this, even though CJ gets beamed by that Sentinel. The Genome, don't worry, I got you on a highlight reel if I can make the magic happen. But it's about pressuring E6 to then give up camping that death box, rotate back around, and instead of feeling confident enough to push uphill on a duo, because even though they have the number advantage, currently 40% worse have the positioning advantage, and you could even see that they're closing the gap here.
Yeah, they're gonna
always going for it.
Try and push the issue here, and I mean, why not? It's a 2v3. Okay, come on, show me some zipline magic here. Oh, the fadeaway Sentinel shot is sick, but it's not good enough, and he will die just to grab that banner, sacrificing himself for his friend there, essentially. As the last remaining member of 40% worse will get out with 1 banner to try and res them.
It breaks my heart. He did everything he could in that situation. It wasn't going to be enough. Shiv, the last warrior alive of 40% worse, and he will be able to go to that respawn beacon in Stormcatcher to get at least that teammate up again. But looking at where the circle is going to be pulling, it is going to be by those rocks north of 202 that have secured the bunker low ground side of North Pad. Great spot for 202 to be holding, especially with that composition that you noted, Genome, and so many other teams still taking their time to rotate on the outskirts.
Yeah, the way it's pulling, I do wonder if maybe it ends up a little bit more in the trenches rather out in the sea. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that does end up. Okay, over here, Element 6, they're trying to finish off the job with Stormcatcher being the site of the res here for Zerafar. 40% worse. They're just kind of booking it at the moment. Just the 2 of them, as Will Smith would say.
Making their way downtown. Just casually going to be able to get the survey beacon. There you go. There's that scan that they wanted. E6 was chasing down Shiv. They knew the closest Moby was right there, and now they get the scan to see where everybody else is hanging out right now. And as they make their rotate here while seeing that 1 solo go through Lightning Rod, they're going to be able to secure the edge of the east side of the circle where Aurora and 2 Rats, 1 Controller have actually been fighting.
Yeah, they're hitting an evac to try and pull up into Cascade Falls right now, actually. So we take a look at some of these teams in Wall. And, I mean, Element 6, though, that the funny thing is they're not running a control character, right? With Bang, Bloodhound, and Horizon, they're heading into Cascade Falls, but they don't actually, they won't be able to take advantage of the ring console down there, sadly.
Giving some of that information here. X taking some shots at the team that's neighboring them. 07 that have not left from this position since the moment that they flew in on top of this building. After getting pinged by Forge inside of the armory. Look what's happening behind Forge, though. To our 1C, Uchaku falling incredibly low as they hold that choke that leads out of Cascade Falls. The same choke that we mentioned that could end up being a bloodbath for the teams that take too long to rotate. AURORA hanging out by a replicator, but have been putting in the damage while the fight has not stopped over by wall between Mind and Made in Heaven coming in.
His team's probably only one of it is going to make it through the wall itself. Catalyst pick here. Not something we've seen too much of since Season 20 came online. A little bit, but certainly falling in favor of some of the other controller characters like like Watson and Caustic.
Redragon fighting for their literal Pro League lives right now. Landing here over by wall here. It's their last day of Pro League before relegation, and they're trying to put themselves on the map as they had on World's Edge. They're backing away in time now. Creeping Barrage coming in, and the focus has completely shifted in the middle of this fight. Mind, look at Made in Heaven, who are rotating towards the bunker, getting pinged, while Mind still try to restabilize inside that building after trying to get pinched.
AURORA, however, on the outskirts here. I think they might have been the ones to pick up a kill on Element 6, who are now very much like 40% worse were before, running away with their tail tucked between their legs. I mean, one of the actually interesting things we just saw in that last fight there, Vicky, was the perk choice from the Lifeline over at Wall. They actually went for Rapid Response and Last Stand, the self-revive pick. And this was something I was theorizing throughout the week and talking to some people about was you can wait to pick your perk upgrades, right? Mm-hmm. You know, obviously I think when you're starting out, you know, the sort of natural thing to do is just to immediately pick, okay, which one am I going for? And you pick it straight away. But you don't have to. You can wait until you decide, hey, okay, we've got a safe spot to drop a care package. All right, let's go for gift wrapped. Or we're getting in a risky fight here. I'm going to just go for the self-revive because that might be the difference between us staying alive or not.
And that's a really good thing. Oh, all right. Well, we're just hitting rocks real quick before Ubing ourselves right back down to the low ground. But I'm glad that you bring that up because it's all situational when you hold on to your perks like that too. And when you activate it at the right time, it can actually save your life. Your cybercats, they don't need any saving. They're the ones doing all the griefing up on the high ground with a 30-30 and with the Gibby put into play from Sanya.
Nice. So even more changes across the board here. The support legends getting some love in Apex Season 20. You'll love to see it.
Big boys are making their return, Genome. 40% works finally get called out. They get eliminated. Mine meets them right back in the lobby. 16 squads left as the circle closes in right behind GoNext here. And we get to see where that next circle is going to be pulling closer to the rocks and the water. AURORA involved in a fight inside this building. Hardeki falls low. They lose out on Roy Rain. And 9 Impulse sliding right in front of Outplayed. Send them right back. And there goes that res here from Hardeki, managing to survive and getting that quick res with the gold knockdown shield.
Very, very good. As you can see, you know, just freeing up time, increasing the pace of the team. They're able to loot while the teammate is getting rezzed. All of those seconds, you know, helping AURORA to restabilize here. And, you know, it's been a tough day for them so far. All right, TSM Phoenix, speaking of tough days, are also struggling. Sabs on the Catalyst.
You have to be careful, popping the shield back here. Well, Fraz, with this Mastiff, doesn't have a shotgun bolt to help him out. They do get that knock, and they get the finisher. But remember, neighboring right next to them is AURORA, who could easily just get involved with this if they just want to prioritize the rotation. Instead, E6 actually wanted to do this something very similar. K-Swinny having to back away. It looks like Slab is moving back and forth, not knowing whether to cross the distance or to go right back into the house, into TSM Phoenix's open arms.
We see the exhibit fade away. An ability that we were oh so familiar with last year, but in year 4 of ALGS has fallen by the wayside. As you said, the zone very much shifting out towards the rocks, where there's currently just a solo from Made in Heaven, I believe. So, yeah, just Synectic. And I guess we'll have to see who eventually takes that spot away from him, because I can't imagine he's going to hold it for that much longer. Probably a team like EMEA or maybe even 07. Who, of course, as you can see there, sitting in 5th spot, have started to creep up as this game and series has worn on.
Drone Wars managing to navigate around the Cuban Barrage and activate the EMP there, or at least attempting to with 2R1C. Taking the lead in the overall team so far in this lobby, and now getting into that final circle positioning while the fight goes on here in the bunker. AURORA fighting all the teams that are trying to run for their lives outside the circle. That is just free KP welcoming them on the other side with 8 squads left.
Man, and I was, you know, the first half of this day, you know, I told you how excited I was to see AURORA playing, and then I felt like I just got, I got none of it, right? They were just getting gate kept in the zone by 40% worse and just having, yeah, really not a great time. But maybe this is it. Maybe this is the game where I get to see what these guys are made of.
Just have to keep you waiting, Genome, especially after their performance in the region so far, but took a little bit of time to ramp up here from World's Edge to Storm Point. Disruptor rounds in Oirain's hand here for the alternator. Taking a nice little split position here on the other side of the rocks, though 2R1C could potentially get pinched if they're not careful looking on the other side.
Yeah, they're playing a really risky spot in the middle of the zone here. They might be able to make it work, but gosh, yeah, if they don't take too much fire from the backside of 07, they could be okay. I'm just... Made in Heaven, Synectic is still by himself out there at the moment. I don't know if he's just putting up... Oh, as we're watching AURORA try and struggle for a shield swap there and not quite make it. Okay, now he's finally getting pushed by Omid, so that might be it. Oh! Ooh.
202 sliding in. Faka being the only one alive, but the Prowler shots and the shield disadvantage is not going to come in clutch. 202 get eliminated. 6 squads left here. And AURORA fighting for their life, but a Hardeki with the gold knockdown gets the res once again on 9 Impulse. Oirain having to move forward because the ring is closing in right behind them, and they're about to be met by Forge to the right, 2 Rats, 1 Controller, and Omit to have Godspot.
Oh my god, we're actually getting the care package as cover. Like every lifeline in Rank's favorite situation here. Being like, oh yeah, I can, you know, we've got nothing. We can play the care package. But with 4 squads left in, they're really pushing for it here. The Forge going in on 07. And I think they might come out on top.
Oh, and collapsing 2-on-2. Rats 1 Controller, 07 get eliminated. Forge now, only Phoenix being alive. Behind the sliver of the lifeline care package, Hardeki now shifting their focus over to Omit, while Forge try to clear some more open ground while AURORA are busy on the other side.
Okay, AURORA trying to clear them out, but they're not keeping their... They're keeping one eye on Omit as we get down into the final 3v3 here. Omit, they took that position away from Made in Heaven with 85% representation of Bloodhound in this lobby. They were going to get that scan and that information at some point. Can they convert it to a game win, though, is the question we're now left with.
And the difference in comp here is the Catalyst versus the Lifeline from Hardeki, but 9 Impulse and Oirain have had one heck of a game. I mean, look at 9 Impulse, 6 KP. I believe Oirain is right there matched alongside him. They do get the crack originally, now closing in the gap to try to isolate Blast, who's on the other side of the rock. They fully try to collapse here, but now trying to overcommit. They get another knock in the process earlier on right before this. Trying to see if they can get the follow-up here, get the knock onto Blast right now. That means that your Catalyst is down. You don't get those temporary shields for this final fight. They lose out on Oirain, and Hardeki can't get the res.
Oh, they've completely swapped positions. That bang ult forced them out, and then AURORA were just chasing them around in circles. But finally, like so many of these top teams here in the ALGS, you can't keep them down for a whole series. At one point, they will come back, they will show up, and they will take a game win.
And that was them playing Ring Around the Rosie, not only around that rock, finding an opportunity to swing and isolate one of the members of EMEA, and AURORA fragged out that entire game. I talked about it at the end of that game, but with the final 3 KP that they cleaned up, that was an 18 KP game, and the dub after they were pretty quiet earlier on in the day.
Yeah, it was a massive, you know, jump to their chances in this series. Not that they really need it. As we said, they're kind of locked in already, but almost just for their pride, Vicky, because, you know, you go back and you think about AURORA's performances so far in this season, they literally haven't got worse than a second place, I think it is. Yeah. Second is literally their worst series result so far. So with that win, they're going to push themselves closer to keeping that record going.
That's crazy to think, too. Just keeping that consistency, no matter the different patches that come in from the different seasons, or even the map swap starting on World's Edge versus Stormpoint like we had earlier on in Split 1. And this is in the same lobby that AURORA had fragged out very similarly, where Forge got in second place right behind them. So they're keeping it still in contention, even at the very end, with one more game to go, Genome.
Yeah, it's definitely AURORA now looking fantastic. So they've got one more. Can they get up a little bit further and you know, maybe have a chance at clinching or getting closer? I'm sure when we get to the scoreboard, that'll give us a better inkling of sort of what that's looking like. But yeah, look, I'm definitely just glad we got to see how they look when they're in full fighting form.
And that's with them making the rotate from Cenote Cave too, from the south side all the way, at least traveling from the northwestern side of Stormpoint. So a pretty nice rotation for them. But I'm looking at a lot of the teams that were able to get the KP that they needed from the southern choke of where that final circle pulled from, like Checkpoint, exiting out of Cascade Falls. Let's take a look at the match results after that game number 5, because I know a lot of teams were able to get a good amount of KP for their first top 10 teams. And TSM Phoenix definitely needed a game where they could get in top 10, get some KP too. Looking at Made in Heaven, who I don't know how they keep doing it, Dino, but they did it again, and that was with their solo playing for the God spot before Omit fully sent it onto them. They finish off in second place with 10 KP, and it is that 18 kill game that AURORA had secured for themselves.
What an absolute nuke they have just dropped on this lobby. A lot of teams struggle to get 30 points in a series at this high level of play in the ALGS, but AURORA aren't like the rest of them. 30 points, 18 kills is going to do so much for this series.
I want to know how that's going to shift up the overall standings after the performance today as we take a look at page number 2 after the results of that Game 5. Cedar France not really having the show up day that we're used to seeing from them. Cybercats coming in that 12th place spot with 1 KP. Not a lot of KP to be shared here. Even Passion, who had gotten third partied originally too, falling in that 14th place spot with 2 KP.
Yeah, not a lot to look at there on the bottom half. Full English, you know, going out at the start there, of course, with that contest up at Zeus Station isn't going to help their chances. And oh my, actually, I'm just remembering they were at 25 points after game 2. Vicky, and obviously most of that was from their first win. They have barely touched anything since then. They've added 1 point in those last, 4 games or something. That is a rough state of affairs for our English lads.
That is the opposite of consistency from what we want to see here from our teams. I mean, it's difficult, but I guess the beans and toast in the morning aren't really working out for our full English squad. Then looking all the way up, though, look at AURORA skyrocketing themselves in that second place spot. It is still incredibly tight here for our top 5. I mean, even looking all the way down to top 7 with Redragon being with 37 points, right behind 07 and Passion U8 with 38.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that's catapulted them into second place is phenomenal. I mean, as we said, you know, that's second or higher is kind of their natural state in EMEA, and that's where they're sitting at the moment.
And they could easily secure that first place spot too to keep the tradition alive, Gina. We're gonna have to see if that plays out in the way that AURORA wants after this break. Don't go anywhere, guys. We got our final game on Starport, our final game for match day 8 here in EMEA. Don't go anywhere because it's gonna be a lot of action. Welcome back, everyone. With all the action we've been able to witness here for our groups in EMEA, it's been one heck of a day so far, and time is of the essence. That is the theme for today, because some of these teams, this is their last match day before the regional final, Genome, and they're performing, especially the teams on the second half of the overall standings.
No doubt about that at all. You can see a good spread of wins here. I think the fifth one, though, is certainly something that's speaking of a direction that this series is going in. That this matchup with groups A and C playing going in, as AURORA have ramped up throughout the day. They are now 3 points off the pace, sitting with 54 points behind first place 57, and very much have a chance to complete or get close to completing this season, only having sat at either first or second place on a match day. One of the best performances we'll likely ever see in one of our online seasons.
That's some bragging rights right there for AURORA. I can't wait to see how this team does in land, honestly. They are one terror of a team to look out for. And honestly, before that last game that they just had 18 kills, got the dub, they were sitting in 10th. Now they went from 10th to 2nd currently, and they're looking to keep up that domination going into this final game of the day here on Stormpoint.
It's going to be a big one for them. I mean, I was even looking at some of the stats, being like, oh, I wonder if AURORA's more of a Stormpoint team. Maybe they'll just pick it up over here and that'll be their time to shine. Not really the case, actually. AURORA are very consistent on both maps if you look at the season as a whole. They are honestly head and shoulders above the rest right now, averaging more than 11 points a game across both maps. They're slightly better on Stormpoint, closer to 12 there. And we usually say like above 9, above 10, that's like elite team status. Getting 11 points a game across an entire split is really a feat. I can't impress upon you guys that much how good this is.
Yeah, it fares off against the other consistent teams in general. But while we wait for our teams to load into the lobby, I want to bring in Dia, and to bounce off of that idea that you were talking about, Genome, talking about the average points that some of these teams that are consistent have been able to bring in. Dia, have you noticed anything different when it comes to some of these compositions, or at least the play style that we see with a lot of these teams that do find that success consistently?
It's still so early in the season that it is difficult to say what compositions are leading into more points, because we're seeing a lot of the same Bloodhound, and then everything else seems to change quite a bit. So say something like Lifeline is actually really varied, especially because those teams tend to fight more. But I am really enjoying the resurgence of Crypto. I think that's been a really fascinating pick, and not just for teams that like previously would want to play Zone, which is where we'd see a lot of Crypto. Now we're seeing it as an edge pick in a weird way, where teams that actually have Crypto are able to play much more aggressively than squads that don't, just because of the pure utility that the EMP offers with the buffs that he's clearly gotten through the perks. So my read very much is dependent on what compositions end up solidifying themselves, but certain picks are definitely taking on new identities, which is a fascinating way to approach the season.
Especially with the perk system, too. I want to take a look back at the series standings. Again, we'll thank you guys so much for the patience. We're waiting for this lobby to load in right now, but taking a look at the series standings, Dee, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, any team specifically from the lobbies that we're watching between groups A and C that you predict are going to have a pop-off final game that they may really need? I mean, I'm even looking at teams like E6 that usually do really well, but haven't really been able to perform after the update with Season 20.
E6 is certainly a team that I'm very curious about because, like you say, they've got this historical success. I'd look even a little further down the leaderboard and say LCDF are underperforming today based on what we've seen from them just last week. I think LCDF is actually in a fantastic spot as a team right now. They really understand their macro, they play fights really well, and they are a hugely underrated team by a lot of people, but today's performance hasn't really given me that. So if there's one team that I'm predicting to have a pop-off game, it has to be LCDF, if only because I'm looking at them and I'm going, I believe, I saw what you did last week, just do it again.
I mean, you know what's kind of funny? You know what's kind of funny about the Element 6 sort of thing you're bringing up there is that they're struggling in Season 20, but I felt like they were the one team who surely would come into Season 20 and be like, oh yeah, we're playing all these new heroes, playing all these new legends. Surely, you know, they're going to be the ones who are able to make that work, because they were the ones playing Lifeline last year when she was almost unpickable, right? These are the guys who've had fun with legend compositions before, but somehow, yeah, Season 20 has seen a little bit of a stall for them.
That's been the theme, the conversation starter here, especially looking at those cusp teams like Le Citerfons. We know what they're capable of, but Dio, we're going to have to keep our eyes on them for this final game. We're going to wish you goodbye for right now, because I'm getting told that things are getting set up here. This may be the chance for Le Citerfons to load in and get locked in, because we know that they have the potential to put on a better performance than what we've been seeing for today, Genome.
Yeah, it's, you know, they've made a couple of end circles, but yeah, haven't really been able to convert as well as perhaps they would have. I remember I was actually, you know, in that game I was casting with Dia just before, we had a bit of a listen-in with them, and I was asking, like, yeah, you know, well, like, how do you think these guys are going this season? He was saying he really likes their rotations. They've, and I think that's something that especially teams with coaches have been doing better than everyone else, and been improving faster than everybody else, because it has changed how teams rotate so much with Season 20. One of the biggest changes to how high-level competitive Apex works. 202, you can see picking up the Watson and the Seer once again. But yeah, look, LCDF, you know, with that controller-less composition there, so as in controller, as in, you know, they can't scan the ring console, is very interesting to me.
And sticking to the Horizon too, honestly, was the one thing that I noted from the Citerfons, a team that usually wouldn't have issues with experimenting beyond what we've seen very commonly in the past few seasons of ALGS. Starting off the rip, though, we know that there's a 50-50 that's been going down consistently for the last two other games on the store point. I expect it to happen again here over by the north side of the map, as we see all of our other teams get situated in their POI right now. Redragon, who had split away from that 50-50 potential earlier on that we knew that could happen, now landing over by Devastated Coast, taking that away from E6. And Full English, let's jump into a listen while they take this 50-50 off the rip to see what they could do to come out on top.
Yeah, go with it.
Okay, I'm on my own over here.
Okay, I'll take a roof,
We can run to door now if you want.
Yeah.
I'm holding for you.
I got scan. Go deep. We know what to do.
They're already meeting us. They're queuing up on me.
Pushing. I have a headshot angle. Oh, one on the height. I keep run.
I'm playing below you.
What's on my door? What's on my door?
On height. Yep.
He's swinging outside.
Swing for you.
Coming down.
I'll do it. I'm dead.
Oh, I tried to do what we talked about and I played the door.
Yeah, I was trying.
They lose the 50-50 3 times in a row on Storm Point, and you can see Omit shooting at their death boxes, feeling confident, and we get to see where their circle is going to be pulling as we say goodbye to Full English, Genome.
Oh, once again, Full English. I mean, gosh, did they convert the one game they did have a good chance on, but if you don't win your contests here, you don't get to play the game, and that's such a sad way to finish out the series for a team who had one incredible performance, and it's not really going to convert into series, into split points, into the overall standings, because they're just going to fall further and further down, like maybe even into the bottom 10 now.
We saw them at least put up some points on World's Edge, but it needed to come out even more from the bottom half of the day here. But now focusing and shifting our way over to where the circle is going to be pulling. At least we got a southern circle this time around. No double north circle here. Instead, this may be pulling towards that choke on the outskirts of Devastated Coast, which goes back to that conversation where Redragon now lands. This actually may benefit them with their specific POI currently as cybercats. You can see them in the distance calling in the evac tower to then actually see if they want to go through this choke.
I mean, yep, Devastated Coast, Echo HQ, Pylon. Definitely a couple of options where this circle could end up. Passion will be very happy if it pulls towards them at Echo. Meanwhile, Aurora are going to have a very easy rotate as the Prowlers go down here over at Cenote Caves. Obviously, with access to that Trident, you can just zoom around the south side of the map and find a spot very quickly.
They got the whole buffet presented to them at Cenote Cave. They had a ring console, a survey beacon, the spiders, and now they'll also be able to have that Evo Harvester that's right there too. Speaking of survey beacons, Forge, with Jay Savage being on this Bloodhound, get some information on where everybody else in the lobby is, and they already got the ring console too, so talk about having all the information that they could have here on top of the rotation points that they have with the Valkyrie. And I don't think he's got enough shield cells either here, honestly. 15? I don't know about that.
You're right, it's a lot of info, isn't it? Because if you get the ring console, you get to see obviously, you know, where the zone's going, but also what the playable spots are. And, you know, they're already pretty close to it anyway. So they're going to go for the buildings on the east side of Pylon. Fantastic spot here. You know, of all those places we called out that it could be Vicky, that is a building that gives you access to all of them.
And that 50-50 potential rotate chance there too, but they're taking the Skyward Dive. They're already taking to the skies to see where the Valkyrie passive could stand the other teams around the area. And they want to navigate by the bridge right here by Devastated Coast, where there's already 3 other teams, making 4 actually, with E6, Cybercats, Redragons, and 202 playing already on separate sides of Devastated Coast with little to no cover if you play out in this open.
I mean, just because of, I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, we've just seen a lot of circles, you know, even in scrims and stuff around Echo HQ. So this one isn't pulling quite south enough, I think, though, to be one of those where you get the play around the zip lines and whatnot at Echo. So instead, we will just have to wait for that that third ring to give us an indication. TSM Phoenix sitting further down towards Coastal Camp.
Let's check out that area.
And, you know, like Sabs would even have the option to pop down and grab that next ring console through the zone at Coastal Camp if they really wanted to. But then they'd probably have to give up their position on the hill here on the cannon, which, you know, is a bit of a trade-off.
And the only second team, by the way, to be running the Catalyst, which could come in clutch for those end circles if you manage to make it there and have that wall available. The only other team running the Catalyst is Mind with Dolgorin. So TSM Phoenix, seeing the teams right in front of them, are opting to see if they could just rotate from behind instead. They could rotate through Pylon if no other team has been there. And there is a beacon, double beacon between Ring and Survey, so they could get some more information and more Evo charge if they want to take their time.
As you kind of mentioned before, you know, there's a couple teams here who've had their POIs spawn with the double beacons. And obviously that helps you a lot. 200 Evo charge towards your next armor evolution is a big deal. A lot of teams over here in Devastated Coast. Doesn't look like the zone's going to be pulling this way, but we will get that further indication in just a few seconds. But certainly a couple teams sitting up. I mean, the 07's probably been one that's surprised me a little bit. Okay, it's very much going towards Echo HQ. But they have, I feel like they have been a team that has not predicted zones particularly well today. I don't know if it's that or, you know, they have not had great priority and haven't been able to sort of find the spots early, but I feel like I keep looking at them expecting, you know, an IGL like Nasky, who's known for those calls, to be, you know, in a good spot all the time, but they seem to be having to fight their way in more often than not.
What in the heck is going on over here? Vex, find the opportunity. They miss out on the Arc Star toss, though. Imagine the Trident would have just gone patooey, but they managed to get away, avoid the Arc Star, but they were low, and they did have the Evo Shield advantage originally, so the team on the Trident that got away had full purples. But Vex, call it, they move away around Command Center. That was Licito Fonts that had managed to go to the Evo Harvester. You're gonna definitely see that more often with Evo Harvesters being a thing now in Season 20. Some teams love to rat and camp out those Harvesters.
Yes.
None of these other teams can get it.
And it's actually, it's a win-win there, Vicky, right? Because if they sit there near the spiders, I think they were within range. It doesn't matter if the other team finishes off spiders. I'm pretty sure that you get the Evo points for the wildlife cleared notification as well, right? So it's like, okay, maybe we get a kill, maybe we get a knock on the other team and then wipe them. And if not, we'll still get some Evo points.
It's true. Any little damage. Andy Jax gets beamed by the 30-30s. Another trident right below their feet, but they're playing on the bottom end of the staircase. VexX is trying to look over to the other side.
They have to stick this. I mean, look at this. They're going down the stairs. They're not really at risk at all. They've got the Bloodhound there to give them that information. Oh, wait, they did get the res? Okay, my bad. Sorry, I didn't see that happen.
It was Willem that had the gold knockdown, so they wanted to make sure that they at least got the res, yeah, with that extra health, because it looks like they're even pinched here, Gino, with a team above them.
Yeah, okay, so this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of, you know, this is a circle that we've seen a lot in Scrim certainly play out, where teams, they honestly know this pretty well, how to play the stairs, how to play the zip lines. This one doesn't have quite as much of the backside in, so you don't have to worry about teams around the side as much, but then there's going to be a lot of these teams from devastated coast that are going to have sightlines on you if you get pushed out of here at all.
Oh, trying to find some of these shots with the Havoc. No turbo in check. Checks having to pop the shield back here. Gets the scan. Let's keep the team at bay, but they're pinched in a corner. He gets one knock. He needs the follow-up. He needs another body there. Willem now just waiting for the medkit to pop off from Checks, but they should drop down. At least try to get the res here to reset.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how methodically they're playing this. Just as you said, you know, waiting for the Bloodhound to get the res again with that gold knock makes a lot of sense. And finally, they're able to clear underneath them, but as you can see, it's not over for them just yet. Still plenty of shots ringing through from the eastern seaboard there. Mines, they'll just cut into this house, which will be in zone 4. So they can actually stick here for a little while if they want to. As you can see, Mind are very much struggling in the series thus far.
Yeah, they got the double donut. They got no kills, no points. Maybe this game they could change things up at least a little bit, get a crumb here if they can. Citrafons now having to look at the team to their left and then focus on the team right in front of them. Sends out the black hole. Creeping Barrage coming in as well from the Bangalore ult. It's 40% worse. Forced to back away. And he's still on that Pathfinder. Is going to be able to get right back to the height. And he's got the bow check in hand here on the catwalk.
Always feels like there's some sort of precarious situation that 40% worse are in, and also usually a sniper rifle in the hands of Mandy. I mean, this one, sure, it's a marksman, but Bocek kind of hits like a sniper rifle, honestly.
Enemy spotted.
Arrow's not finding their mark at the moment.
Bocek really comes in clutch, especially if you find that heady. Oof, that's unfortunate. Does get a body shot, though. 70 here on the other side. I love how he's crouching, trying to hold a little head glitch off the lip of the wall. Tries to take a split angle, but also notices that he is pitched between two teams that have him in his line of sight. Luckily, though, that grapple comes in to help him out, get out of trouble. Zerfer wants to capitalize off of the damage that was done off the bow check. They need to get some more of this KP. Gets the crack, but can't get the knock with the Havoc.
You can see LCDF in all sorts of trouble. Dia not going to be happy about that one. Amit, as you see just on the northern side, they're looking on, wondering if they should get involved in this fight. They've got 14 seconds to decide that before the ring is going to force them out, and they either need to fight or they need to move.
Hemlock shots are hidden. Sees with a scan where they're positioned behind that lip.
Okay,
in the evac here, and they have to get out with the circle closing in right behind them, right, Gino?
Yeah, that's that choice I was talking about, and they do it even a little bit late. You can see them taking some ring damage here. 40% worse. They're gliding in together. Both have taken the evacs as Aurora do the same from their spot. Oh, wow. Everyone just, yeah, it's almost like we're back to Valk days here. There was so many evacs popped at once there to try and make it into Echo HQ.
And they had Oi Rain pop Beast of the Hunt before they took the evac, or at least middle of the part of taking the evac, because with that Beast of the Hunt, you could see if anybody's right below you because they don't have a Valkyrie with that passive to let them know who may be already situated, where they want to land. So that's more information when you get to see everybody in that red site. And if this building is clear, which it looks like as Aurora's playing on the outskirts of it, they have that building for free. But there's so many teams over by Echo HQ from the very beginning. Vex now fighting for their life. Beast of the Hunt activated for Babylons. 18 squads still left. Bow check in Falco's hand. EMP coming in. Vex now having to restabilize here as long as they don't get pushed, but the nades are coming out, having to avoid the arc dart. He's called out of position. And Falco can't get away. He can't get into cover. It's really only Clemmy that can give that suppressed fire. Ooh.
All right, what's he got left in the tank? Still hitting flesh on the other team here, but the crossfire comes in and will eliminate him, and that leaves all of this side of the map here for 2R1C. Hopefully there's an evac tower in one of those death boxes, Vicky, or they had one on hand already, because that is the only way they're getting into the next ring.
We're gonna have to see later on for 2 Rats 1 Controller. More of these teams playing underneath that bridge before this circle closes in less than a minute now, less than 40 seconds. AURORA still playing underneath this stairwell. OP have not left from this side of Echo HQ too, because Forge have been in the middle of Echo HQ from the very beginning, still with full blue evos.
And that's fine for the moment. As you can see, they're actually pretty close here. I mean, they've got 300 ammo there for the 30-30. Slayers surely will be hitting that in just a few shots. The map here giving us very good vision of where the circle's going to end, just to the northeast of Echo HQ, the building itself. And it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one to fight in there.
You're going to fight underneath here too. Looking through all the smokes with nothing but a bolt in hand, with no attachments. You take the evac and you Hail Mary to land on top of wherever you can go at this point, because you're getting shot from every angle. Nice little overhead to at least get on top of Pride Rock, but it's the team that's playing underneath, closer to the Tridents. They get another knock. They see another player knocked right below their feet, but they have to look to their backs. 30-30 shots ringing out. They get the knock in the feed. Gets another crack on top of that. No Little Rock can provide that cover with the circle closing in right now, and they, even though E6 is not in that next circle, they have the height advantage for the squads looking at them.
They do, and they need to use it, because there's a scant few seconds left before they will be forced off the rock. And have they done enough damage? Have they put enough pressure on these other teams around them to make this position safe, just for now?
Fighting for their lives with their back against the wall. Bambino popping the smoke here. All I hear are 30-30s like fireworks in the air. 2 Rats 1 Controller. Who's got the Kraber? Knows that there's a team right above them, but nobody dares to peek their forehead out.
A brief moment of rest for these teams. 2R1C, one of the only teams on the move in this lobby right now. ANC outplayed. That position on the stairs is going to be good for quite some time. That fight that they won over there turning out to be incredibly important.
AURORA's got the works when it comes to getting out of the line of sight of so many teams. They don't only have the rock and the palm tree, but they got the Trident, they got a Moby right next to him, and the Lifeline Cure package, it seems. So they are covered in the middle of this circle.
And they build them.
Got 9 bullets, or I guess arrows in the bow check. Getting scanned right behind them from the Bloodhound, and it looks like a Valkyrie team just took the skyward dive right in front of them. They're getting shot at by GoNext and AURORA, so it was actually evac tower, literally sitting tucks with the circle closing in behind.
The evac even gets done for it. Case or Winnie all on his lonesome. Bang ult to try and cover his back. He pulls up on an unsuspecting Uxako, but he turns around and finishes him off. Circle closes. 20 seconds now. GoNext going up against TSM Phoenix as AURORA try and hold their spot, but you can see they are shell-shocked at the moment.
That was crazy, but AURORA with these nades, they want to finish in first. Seconds not enough for them. They want to beat the record out here. Still playing up that low ground. 2 Rats 1 Controller right on the high ground. Patch and get eliminated. GoNext. Meet them back in the lobby. We got 6 squads left here as AURORA lose out on Oi Raid, but they take out 202. Avoid the missile swarm from the Valkyrie and try to get this res on the lifeline.
Yeah, I think they're okay though. I mean, even The more I see this, the more I'm like, damn, man, the lifeline res is genuinely quite helpful in these end circles where time is of the essence, and you know, every second you delay, you know, often you're like taking angles, trying to work out, oh, can we afford to res here? You don't have to think about that as lifeline. You just pop it and you go immediately. You get the shield stop. You pop your med kit off, whatever you need to get that reset, and then start covering for your teammate who's already up and about. Once you have meted up yourself. So there's just a lot of value in it, frankly.
Well, we take a look at Forge, still rocking full blue Evos. I'm going to jump into a listen-in with Forge. Hear how they play out this next rotation while they're stuck in that corner.
Oh, yeah. He's holding there. I didn't even nade off, man. Nice try, guys. No, that was so bad, bro. I don't know.
And that's the risk when you're stuck in a corner looking at a team that knows where you've been the entire rest of the game. But look at these smoke nades on every corner as Passion UA are in trouble. Lose out on Max Strafe, even with the wingman in hand. I have the high ground here. L-Star from Sonya, but doesn't look over behind them. Drops right in front of the Caustic, and Passion UA get eliminated. Outplayed with the game of their lives here, still having the high ground.
2 rats or 1 controller, though. They're fighting Aurora right now for the bottom side of this. It's most likely a fight for second place. As you can see, 2R1C down to just the one last member. ANC Outplayed should easily be out to close this out. The EMP is not enough to save them, and very different to some of our other circles and even POIs where we see these end games play out, Vicky. The stairs don't look like your typical power positions in some places in Apex Legends, but as you can see, we get a 3rd place and a 1st place there from both Aurora and from ANC Outplayed, from teams who played those stair positions.
And that's with Outplayed leaving their POI by down beast and immediately trying to go towards the outskirts of Echo HQ from the very beginning, like we saw. They had wrapped around even from Devastated Close, flying into that stairwell. And with that team comp too, you look at the Caustic, you look at the way that they were able to play around that stairwell the entire time, because they had to fight over like 3 other teams that wanted to fight for that same similar rotation from that position. And the Caustic really helps out in situations like that. And then having the blood on, having the gold knock allows you to reset even better to take on the next fight that may try to push in for a 3rd party.
Yeah, Caustic, yeah, super important for those positions. Definitely one of the reasons why we're seeing him be picked up so often now in Season 20. But yeah, Bloodhound, I think, was the most picked legend we saw today, which is interesting because in some of the other regions, it had definitely been Bang being the most prevalent.
Let's take a look at the match results after a performance like there, because Andy had popped off at the very end on that Caustic. Outplayed, finished off the day with the dub and 9 KP, but tying that KP with 2 rats, 1 controller that had to fight their way in that final circle, fight their way against Aurora, who also were throwing everybody in the lobby, holding the middle part of that circle, covering every corner, whether it be from the Moby, the Lifeline care package. Lifeline pick definitely being that staple that we're seeing more often in this region, Gino.
It's becoming more and more legit in my eyes. You know, when it popped up at the start, people were like, no, it's just a meme. Like, you know, people want to feel powerful. They want those care package weapons. They want to, you know, maybe you get an Evo case drop as well with the gift wrap perk. But it's, yeah, I'm really starting to believe.
Seeing on the second page here, Made in Heaven. I mean, they've been believers themselves. 4 KP at least. They've had quite a little bit of a day here, but unfortunately not getting the placement that they need here. Cybercats following in 12th with 0 KP. Mine didn't finish with a double bagel, though. They got 3 points on board for that final day, all right? So not finishing with a big O. Even looking all the way down, though, to full English, that were not able to win that 50-50 on Storm Point starting off from Game 4.
Yeah, you've also got 40% worse there. I believe this was their last match day, unless they make it into the regional finals, which I don't think is possible for them at this point. So that could be the last outing we see of Zerafa, Mandy, and Shiv for now.
You know, guys, it's going to be a tough one to say that, really, and see it happen. You know, I love Shiv. I love the personality. Probably not this season, though, in terms of the Pro League. Have they figured out what they need to do? But a lot of teams are in that process of figuring things out, especially with Season 20. Some, they actually benefited. Some still trying to just work out some of those things and get back on track. One of the elements I think about this last finish, though, guys, is we came in with actually a team in the lead who had not won a game yet, and they still didn't win a game. I'll highlight them in just a little bit, but I think one of the cool aspects is we've seen big names in EMEA show up again and again. And as we transition, obviously, into our next kind of talking with some of these players, let's go and walk back through what they had done to get here, because I was watching on the sidelines when match 4 did occur, and Made in Heaven, they were in the prime position to get things done. And when we bring that up, even just talking about it, so much of these circles that we've been tracking, we've shown people earlier on in the day, we'd seen repeat circles. When it came to Storm Point today, a lot of these circles were newer, especially the first two and the one that you saw here. Vex was in a great spot with the Kraber. And one of the things I loved kind of seeing this is, how do you play it? It seemed like the feeling, the guttural instinct that someone's behind us, let's pay attention to that instead of look in front of us and hold a better position, got the focus of Faco and Vex more, and this really helped Made in Heaven. But what surprised me was the full commit. They see 2R1C in this moment, and they say, let's go get these kills. And I'm not sure if it's Babylon's or Micey who gets that aggressive, but Clemmy GG having to try to hold this right angle, it's just tough. And so what they end up focusing on is what's right in front of them, which I think you should do in this type of position. But it's not enough to get anything in terms of a win. It means Made in Heaven walk up. It takes a little longer than I would have expected for them to finish this one off. I think it might have even been a Bangalore smoke that helps get the damage here, and Made in Heaven able to go ahead and do what they need to do to get that W. But when game 4 goes this way, and sometimes it's easy, you think, well, maybe that's going to be the way game 5 goes. No, game 5 was anything like that, guys. It ended with a great one, Genome, with AURORA and Omit having a heck of a 3v3.
Yeah, it was a fun little 3v3 to finish off here. You see Contour ult going out in the middle. Immediate focus from AURORA, I think, was important in making sure they had lanes of play open to them. Then you see Night Impulse here stalling it out. He was at 99%. Immediately pops the Rolling Thunder, and this was the turning point in the fight for AURORA. As this bang ult goes down, Amit can't take it. There's nowhere safe spots for them, so you see immediately AURORA pull round, and that's when they get this opening pick here very soon after, and are able to take this one out.
Yeah, it was honestly a very, very great start, and you love seeing these isolated fights because it shows you that there's a lot of strategy that goes on from not just who you're picking, but what perks you're selecting. You see some of the auto ping triggering there, but then sometimes you get into the place where it's just straight up, we're running at you. And in this type of position, Forge, Vicky, they find themselves in these end zones all the time in really nice places. They remind me a little bit of Omit, of how they really like to set themselves up for a win.
Yeah, they did. It's just unfortunately with the circle pull and them stuck in the corner, it was just open sights for everybody that was just waiting for them to funnel outside of that building. But then this is where all the real action happened, Green Day. This is where Outplayed was able to secure that high ground after fighting so many of the other teams that were trying to neighbor each other in Echo HQ. Patch and UA, Sonya dropped right in front of the Caustic, who closed out that fight. And then with the last 3 squads, Outplayed would know the teams that contest them on the high ground, had all the time to reset here, and then eventually clean up what was left of AURORA and then 2 Retro and Controller.
It's interesting looking at ANC Outplayed, obviously, you know, taking the victory here. They started in game 5, going into game 6 with about 20 points, I believe. So this significant jump for them, not enough, obviously, to go into our first place spot, but ANC Outplayed got to feel good that they ended on a high note. In terms of the actual standings, though, my goodness, we have a tiebreaker that is the difference between AURORA and 2R1C. I heard you guys chuckling. Vicky, I don't think I remember seeing this exact score where 2 teams have the exact same points at the end of the day.
It's actually crazy. It's been a while since I've been able to see a tiebreaker like this. And what comes to the question is the fact that 2 Rats with Controller had gotten a dub game 3, and AURORA got the dub that we saw in game 5 rather. And AURORA got it with 18 KP, and 2 Rats with Controller got their dub game 3 with 11 KP. So it's crazy to see how tight the upper half of the overall standings are after this match today.
And Genome, I mean, it's no surprise to see AURORA on top. I feel like we're getting so used to saying that, but to do it in this fashion, it does mean that maybe they've got it going.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Dropping a 30-point nuke, obviously, that is one way to make sure you win those tiebreakers. I mean, the admin's certainly getting their work cut out for them. You can see 3 tiebreakers in the top 10 here, but that means that AURORA has won 4 out of their 5 match days so far.
Unbelievable stuff from AURORA. And even when you look at the bottom 10, you got to consider that some teams, they tried to make a push. LCDF de France, a surprising 18th place for me after a squad that we've looked at and we've seen the likes of them perform. ANC Outplayed, though, without that win, they might have been dropping in 19th. So we're going to take a look at how this affects the overall standings in EMEA, because as you mentioned it, Genome, 5 match days played, 4 wins from AURORA. That is why they are clearly on top.
That's insane, isn't it? So that's a 121 out of a possible 125 points so far from AURORA. Just incredible stats there, but obviously with other teams getting close to 90 as well, which is something we had ticked at, you know, roughly around the spot that you're safe, you're guaranteed to get into LAN at around about there. And obviously they still have either 1 match day left to play for some of these teams, or potentially the regional finals to add to their totals as well.
You know, the other thing, Vicky, when you look at this, it's nice to, in this bottom half as well, see teams that are kind of moving forward with good match days. Omit, another team right there in 16th. They were in 21st. And so jumping up with their 3rd place finish today, it actually puts them in the regional final.
And they needed that too. You look at teams like Forge, we highlighted them at the very beginning of the show too, that really needed to have a pop-off day. But teams that didn't perform to the standards that we're used to seeing, LCDF de France, it really comes into question what they could do differently with the limited time that they have, especially since this is the last day, match day, that some of these teams could play on before the regional finals.
Such an interesting one. Any surprises here for you, Genome? Any expectations for these teams who are currently out of the regional final? They really are running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, Redragon obviously have shown signs of life here, moving from 28th at the start of today to 23rd. So at the very least, they're now quite close to removing themselves from the relegation talk. So even if they can just get to, obviously, spots 21, 22, you don't make regional finals, but you don't, you avoid relegation. So that's at the very least something to play for. But certainly, if they can show signs of life again, they may even make it into that top 20.
Well, you know, we're getting some information too, because these groups obviously playing with each other, but I think that's it for Group A. So Redragon might actually be locked in into the PLQ. I think we're getting some confirmation on that as well. Well, guys, you've been casting so much. I've been watching as well. Brilliant job. And also, a few players always stand out to me. It's easy to talk about AURORA. We've done that, as you can imagine, many times, because, hey, they've won 4 out of 5 times that they've showed up. Makes sense to talk about them. But there's another team that caught my eye, and another player specifically, and it was Blast, who was on Omit. I thought Omit today performed extremely well. And Blast, you got to shout out the UK man himself. He's been a pro in Apex over 4 years. You know how hard that is to do, from Weigers to Endeavor to with Noises and JMW. I think the journey that he has been on has been great, and kind of parallels the journey that Lufka has also been on, formerly with Ascend. Him, Kashera going separate ways, but they were a powerhouse in EMEA. So you start putting together these teams, these players into this team, maybe journeyman at times, really finding a rhythm at the right time. And the other thing that I love about this, not just the performance, but in terms of kills, top 5, I think, on the day, assists as well, and damage, just, you got to say, from a support player, that is pretty awesome. And I say support only in the way that he was playing Conduit, not actually a support player. He supports his team by kicking butt. All right, we actually have a chance to speak to the man himself. Blast, I think we are joining him he is joining us rather on voice. Blast, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How you doing, man? Welcome. We're so glad to speak with you a little bit and kind of hear how things have been going. I kind of want to just open it up to you on the floor. I thought you guys played phenomenally. It's really rare that you see a team who almost wins the day, but not find that actual game win. You guys just had great fundamentals. What was working so well for you today and overall in this match there?
Thank you. I honestly think today was just down to discipline. I think the days that we've had a little bit rougher and come, 14th, 15th, it's been a thing of we've just made stupid mistakes. That's the bottom line. We know we're good players. We know we have the potential to make LAN. It's just about all of us being at that top level, being all motivated and just keeping the discipline. And, today that's what we did. We still made some mistakes today. We should have been first, to be honest with you. This last game was pretty rough, but yeah, it's just about discipline, I think.
I want to follow up with that. I mean, you finished the day with 14 KP, Light had 13 KP. You guys are getting the kills and you know what you guys have to do differently. How would you fare that season 20 has been to your team overall? Because you guys have been ramping up and getting better, but now the days are kind of ending when it comes to split one before we go to the Pro League regional finals. So what are your thoughts right now as that's coming up soon?
Yeah, I think my main thought is that through Pro League, it's been a bit of a learning experience for us. We've kind of gone from playing to just live to playing to win. And I know that seems like very simple and easy to understand, but when you're playing and you're in these games with 18 other teams alive, zone 3 or 4, whatever it is, sometimes all you just want to do is sit in a corner and chill, and you just can't do that. You can't give teams too much respect, but you also can't just be afraid. And today, I think, us having how many kills we had, I think it was 36, something like that. I think it shows that we're not hesitating anymore. We're not scared of doing what needs to be done. We're trying to play for the win, and yeah, we're just doing our best.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your team composition here on Storm Point, Blast. Obviously, you had the contest over at Zeus there, so you weren't playing a controller character. You're running Conduit, Bloodhound, and Horizon. How did that affect your game plan? Obviously, you guys did very well in the contest, but then you have to play out the rest of the game without that ring console knowledge, but still doing quite well. So yeah, how does that affect the game plan after playing a contest?
It's pretty, I'd say it's pretty hard to make it work. It's definitely not a bad composition by any means. Having Conduit is mainly just for the contest. The Horizon's also just needed and following that with Bloodhound. It's a composition that you can still make plays with and still have a very good game with. The main struggle for this comp is just not having a Bangalore. Having to do the last game, the rotates that we had to try and achieve with just all the teams alive and simply just nothing to keep us alive. It's rough. It's hard. And the other 2 games, we had zone near us, so it really favored us. And at that point, it was just plain disciplined. But the actual composition itself is like, it's not perfect for playing the game, but it's not bad by any means. Can definitely have big games.
Just a quick piggyback on that Conduit. How do you feel? She was obviously really strong, kind of fell off a little bit in terms of her play rate. Well, a lot in terms of her play rate. Something you think could be coming back a little bit more, or just kind of works for what you guys are doing?
I would say it's not going to be something that's meta specifically. It's not bad. It's just there are simply better characters. I think if you're going to be playing this character, it's mainly based off contesting because you just need it in contests to get rid of that downtime from when someone gets cracked. But yeah, I personally couldn't see it coming back for now.
Blast, before we let you go, listen, we haven't talked to you a lot on this platform in the ALGS. You've been a pro for like 4 years. Just anything you want to say to people watching, listening. I'm glad we have a chance to kind of highlight you and all you've done and what's going on with you guys on Omit. So yeah, the floor is yours before we say goodbye.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the chance to be able to come on here and talk about this stuff. Just want to say thank you to my org. I appreciate everyone. Appreciate all the support. I have lots of people DMing me right now saying how well we did. It means a lot. I've been doing this for a long time, as you said, like 4 years, which is crazy. I've always told myself to just stick it out and be disciplined, and you'll get there. And I think we're on the right track. It's been hard, but we're getting there.
I absolutely love that statement. We'll leave it on that, Blast. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Didn't get the win, but a really good third place performance. And hey, had that last game gone your way, it definitely would have been yours today. Thanks for joining us, Blast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Blast, ladies and gentlemen, from Omit. Great showing. And you know what, Vicky, I think I'll lead with you as well. Overall, great day of EMEA action here. Season 20, our last couple of days before the regional final. I mean, what are your takeaways?
I can't wait to see Aurora and land. They're such a good team. It's like I always get to see them so close, and now I hope I get to finally see them because they just stay on top. Literally the most consistent EMEA squad that we have out there. And the fact that they were able to start off rough and find a game with 18 KP. I mean, aside from the Titans that they are in this region, I wanted to give a shout out to teams like E6, where they started off the first split very strong, but have fallen off. I want to see this team show the capabilities that they have already in the past to really pop off, and then see teams like Redragon, if they can really make that comeback. As although this is the last day that we get to see them play in their match day, they obviously have figured something out. So I want to see them come back in full force.
And it's a great sentiment as well. A lot of hopeful things as something comes to an end or a new phase begins. You see kind of who's going to, you know, what journey is going to come next in our other splits. So it's great to talk about teams like that. Genome, you know, we've got you from APAC South. Now we're in, you know, North America soon. EMEA, we just finished. You're all over the world. But APAC South, they got something fun coming up pretty soon you're going to be a part of. Let us know a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're our schedule a little bit ahead of EMEA and North America here. So we've got the regional finals coming up tonight. It will be starting when we'd usually start our second series. That's at 4 p.m. SGT, or where I'm here in Melbourne, it's 7 p.m. And obviously it's going to be a fun one, right? I mean, we saw the APAC North final last night. You know, Reject with an amazing performance there. So who knows if someone can do something like that and wrap it up in a couple of games. But either way, we've got a lot of strong teams there. Like Wonton Dumpling have just come out of nowhere in some ways and have been performing phenomenally. So I'm really keen to see if they can rack up their first win in a match point series.
Well, if you're wondering why we're gonna be missing you in North America, ladies and gentlemen, you look at those times. That's why, because at midnight he's going again, so we gotta have him take a little bit of rest. But great job, Gino, Vicky as well. I'll see you a little bit later in the day, but congrats on a great broadcast, guys. All right, well, that should sum it up, ladies and gentlemen. What a start here we've had in EMEA for our match day 8. But guess what? It continues in just a little bit. That's right, North America is coming up. We've got to see who is going to be heading towards that regional final as well. And there are some big names that are going to be playing. You know them. You see them. He's pointing at me. Wow, look at that. Hal, TSM, of course, they're going to be featured in today's NA matchup. And as always, they're going to be fun to listen to watch, and to see perform. They have been in a very good position, and they've continued to be one of the only two teams that when we get to LAN knows how to get the job done. See if that continues as well, because we've also got to see Native Gaming. Rambo, he joined us on the show last week. He says they kind of need to pick things up a little bit, but they've been finding the meta. They've been staying focused and staying positive, and that is sometimes all you can do. But this team, there's been nothing to stay positive about. Sweet, give him a new org, give him a new squad, and he gets the job done better than almost anyone would have anticipated. Sweet versus Hal versus Native, all coming up as well. Play Apex Esports on X or Play Apex here on Twitch. You guys can find all of the information. And you know what? Here's the cool thing. We have a little bit of time right now. You guys can go play. I think get a couple ranked games in, get grinding, play some Apex if you're going to be going to bed like Gino pretty soon. Or, hey, if you're going to stay by and watch North America, feel free to wait up with us. But get in on the game. We'd love to see you in there. Go grind some ranked. And as always, my friends, never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all next time.
already know. On 3 we win. Whole team bring it in. We go out and give them the business. We come and take over the city. I got a lot on the line. I got a whole lot to lose. You know me, and walk it back.